on that dang, because we live though
We're
for this
live.
rapid review.
What's up, everybody? My name is Nick.
Tuesday in April, babe. My mic.
That is Mike. We are the Brothers Murphy. We're doing rapid reviews. We're going to review everything we played last month. It was actually a lot.
March was good. We had Dice Tower
West, and just had more like general game days and stuff than we usually do.
Yeah, we're getting back to sort of recreationally playing games, if that's a thing. So we had 44 games this month, which is higher than normal. But it makes sense if it's a month where you went to a board game convention, which we did, which was very awesome. For everyone that we saw at Dice Tower West,
thanks for hanging
awesome
out.
to see.
Yeah.
So we're going to review everything we played at Dice Tower West and beyond.
But
first, we're going to thank all of our new patrons who have joined us this month.
All of our new patrons. We always thank our new patrons at the beginning of every, because it's kind of a month in review. So let's talk about our Patreon. We've been posting a bunch over on our Patreon, so if you want to check it out.
Check out some videos, some Q&A stuff going on.
We got Mr. Imp, who is in the chat, by the way. Mr. Imp is here.
Imp.
We got Tej League. We got Aaron Clark. We got Don Gilstrap, Brian Rising, Nick and Julia. Great name, Nick. Andrew P., J.R. Green, Stacy Everdell, Rachel Fincher, and Fernando Martinez. A lot of new patrons this month. Thank you, everyone, so much.
Consider becoming a patron today, folks.
You'll get a shout out on a show quite like this.
Indeed.
We are live right now, so we're not going to be talking to chat too much, maybe a few things here and there, but at the end of this, we are going to have a Q&A, so if you're in the chat, get a couple questions you might want to ask us. Once we're done with our reviews, we'll do a little Q&A afterwards. But yeah, thank you so much for being here. Thanks to people who are here live. Thank you all so much. And Andreas, you're awesome. Thank you so much.
And with that, let's get into what we played this month.
Indeed, Mike. Real quick though, we got to do a
G
Money. G Money's in chat. We haven't seen G Money in a very long time.
G-Money's in the chat.
So let's talk about what we played this month. A big one is First here, Mikey.
This is one that we had wanted to. Oh snap!
Oh, I messed it up.
It's quicker now.
It's quick now. It's quick.
All right, we played Botoku.
We did.
Played this at Dice Tower West with Dwayne and Mick. So that's from Blackboard Gaming and Our Family Plays Games, respectively.
Both two people were like, we got to try and play a game with Dwayne.
OFPG shirt.
I believe Mick has this exact Brother Smurf shirt.
He does.
Because I was watching it, I was like, oh, that's cool, yeah.
So we got to play Botoku. Dwayne taught us it because it's this game that has it's a big old board. It's one of those ones that it's a game that has so much art on the board that it seems really busy, but ultimately it's there's this area where you do this thing, that area where you do this thing, but you can't at a glance necessarily see.
No, you can't see it. It's a very overwhelming board. Once you know it, I like it because it's very, very pretty, but it is an overwhelming board. There's so much art, so much stuff, and it's a big game on top of that, so it's ooh.
It's a big game where there's a lot of stuff you can do, and you're basically these spirits, and you're trying to, kind of like the elder spirit, I'll say, is sort of going away, and you're trying to rise up to become the next great spirit.
Indeed.
And you're doing a whole bunch of stuff in this game, but it all comes down to kind of dice placement, and then jockeying for position based on the strength of your dice, because your dice can kind of become stronger.
Paths you can go down and stuff like that.
There's literally, it's hard to even condense down in because there's so many things, but
there's a lot.
There's some tableau building. You can get these cards and kind of build out a path. You're walking down this path. You are building out your player board and unlocking stuff, getting kind of better bonuses. When you do a certain type of action, you might trigger a bonus, or whenever you do income, you might trigger a bonus. You're kind of getting these crystals and things to facilitate all of that. There's a bunch of stuff going on, but it was really fun because there's this whole thing of to go to a place where Nick has maybe been with a die, I have to put a stronger die down. So there's a lot of that jockeying for position. Then you can kind of cross the river with the same die to make a second use of the action, but you have to decrease its value. So you're trying to mitigate the strength of your dice. When do you kind of, you want to get the most that you can out of each round.
Yeah.
But then you might have weaker dice for the next round, and then you kind of get blocked out by people. So there's a lot of fun stuff to consider, but it's a beautiful game.
Yeah.
Insane production.
Cool. I really liked it.
Really want to play it again. And that's really the most we can explain about it, because it's just, there's so much going on. It's it's I don't know how to get into it.
A lot. And Dwayne taught it very, very well. We got a couple questions in chat. Save those questions for after our review part, because that's when we're going to answer all that stuff. Absolutely. But thank you so much for the questions coming in. We really appreciate it.
Keep them coming. Keep them coming.
Okay, so Botoku was outstanding.
Amazing. Yeah, that's all to say that we really enjoyed it.
This was not our first time playing Camel Up, but first time in a while. We played it once, and this is the first time playing the newer version too.
Yeah, that's why I put it in this section. These are all the games that are new to us, mind you.
Yes, new to us.
The stream.
We played this. Dave Phillips and May Beth, two of our favorite people on the planet. Camel Up is just, this is one of those games where we played it once, and I was kind of all right, that was cool. And then I've always kind of had this is that game that good? And then we played it again. I'm like, no, Camel Up is great.
It's really fun.
It's a game where there's camel races going on, and you are essentially betting on
the outcome of the race.
Win.
Yeah,
it's got this
you can
really
sabotage
cool,
and do a couple mitigation.
it's got this cool dice shaker that's a pyramid. You
Oh,
press a
love
button
that
and a
thing.
die falls out, and it's like such a gimmick, but it works so hardcore and it's great.
Yeah.
I really like Camel, but yeah, you're just betting on what camel you think is going to win. You can manipulate and have camels go backwards or forwards by kind of putting your cards down on the track, which might make certain camels go forward, stuff like that. It's really, really fun. It's a great like family weight kind of racing game, and I really like it a lot.
It was a hoot. We played it twice back to back, and like it really did. We played it the right way with the right like types of people, the right energy to like really understand like this is why so many people love this game. I'm really happy we had that experience because it was great. Camel Up like deserves all its praise.
It's a game that I don't know if I ever need to own personally.
No, but it'll be perfect for that kind of con
it's a great
experience.
convention
You play
game,
a lot of people and stuff like that. So I'm like, I'm so and that'll always be in a library.
Yeah, and that's exactly. I'm like, I don't need to own this game, but I'm glad that
pyramid
it is.
though is so tight.
Yeah,
I would buy that pyramid. I think.
It is great. You played Dark Ages.
I played Dark Ages,
I did
Holy
not play
Roman Empire, which is a peeps on a map kind of game by Board and Dice, but because it's a Board and Dice game, there's a bunch of Euro mechanics woven throughout.
Bumping tracks.
This one was interesting. I wasn't sure, to be honest, how much I was going to dig it. It's the type of game that
it doesn't look like a game we'll dig that much, just by sheer judging a book by its cover kind of situation.
Yeah,
right?
but I got a chance to play it with a buddy who likes those types of games. And as we started going, I realized like, oh, it's actually got some really cool stuff because there's like these cards you can get and you can sort of upgrade technologies, which can really like modify who you are and the types of things you can do. Like, well, that's interesting to explore. But then there's also like a lot of resource production stuff in the game, and where you build up cities, you can kind of put these production buildings out that give you resources every time you kind of trigger an income when you rest and everything. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to go full Euro game with this. And you can fight these kind of neutral characters on the board, which is great because I'm like, okay, none of us fought each other. It's like, I'm just gonna fight these neutral units, get some benefits and stuff. And there's all these kind of like building types that you can put out onto the board and kind of increase your production. And as you get more and more stuff off your board, you unlock more and more points. So I was like, I'm going full end game scoring. In game, I had nothing. And I was like, but I have all this stuff cleared off on my board because I had this huge resource engine going and I won the game. And I was just like, played this game full Euro style and won. And I was like, that's cool that you could play that game really Euro style, really confrontational, kind of like peeps on a map, fight each other style. Both are viable. We have this one over here. And I was like, that's cool. It's like they made a game for me where I'm like, I don't want to do the mean stuff. I'm just going to like make my rocks and stuff. And I won.
Yeah?
Yes.
It works out.
It was really fun though. I actually really enjoyed it.
That's Dark Age. We played Decorum at Dice Tower West. I was shocked at how much I love this game. Not that like I thought I would.
Right there.
Oh, it is. It is right. Boop, right there. I wasn't going into this game expecting to dislike it. I just didn't really understand like what it was because it's been described to me before, and we're actually gonna be playing this game a week from today.
A week from today.
Over on twitch.tv/TheBrothersMurph.
Be there.
Be there. We're gonna be playing this. This game is great. It's a co-op game about passive-aggressive cohabitation is basically what it is. You have a house that you all live in, and you all
live in this house.
And you have a direction on how you want that house to be decorated. You're like, I only want retro lamps everywhere. That's all I want, nothing else.
And I'm like, why so retro?
And so everyone has all these stipulations and you win the game if everyone's stipulations are met. And there is a way to do it. It's not like
it's
a way
big
where it's
puzzle
broken.
that you're collectively answering. So I might have a thing where I can't have anything blue downstairs.
Yes.
And Nick needs to have a retro thing, but that retro thing can be yellow. It just needs to be retro. So he puts a blue retro lamp or whatever.
Or
And
it's
I
like,
go
I
like,
need-
oh, I hate that. But he's like, well, why do you hate it? I don't hate it because it's retro. I hate it because it's blue.
Yeah,
So then I'll swap it in with something else. And he's just like, okay, that still works for him. That works for me. And there is a way to be like, we're all happy with the house now.
And so it's
Very
fun because
cool.
you're not allowed to say obviously what you need because that would break the whole game. But you are basically, whenever someone does something, you're allowed to say like, I like that, or like, I don't really care, but I'm neutral on that. Basically, it doesn't hurt you at all. Or you can be like, I hate that. And that's all you can kind of say. And so Mike is kind of like,
we don't communicate well, apparently.
Or like Visual always said, it's like, we cannot have a blood red kitchen. We cannot have a blood red kitchen.
And you're like, why, you know?
And I just love it. But it was so much fun.
It's so ridiculously good. And it's based... It's a 2 to 4 player game, but it's basically designed, I think, as a 2-player game with a 3 and 4 player way to play it as well. But they're both kind of like these campaigns. You're going to go through several scenarios, I think, of increasing difficulty. There's a couple of unlockables in the game, and it's redonkulously fun. It is so much fun because you can get into the role playing of it and just this was one that Dice Tower West, like so many people like demoed it and came back saying like, oh my gosh, that was such a
we were
good
talking
time.
to Mick and Starla about it because they
Yes.
loved it, and Starla
It's
doesn't do
so-
co-op, as you know, and she loved
But
it.
the co-op
and
where you
so-
can kind of be mad at each other.
You
so
are
it
kind
works.
of you hate each other the whole time.
Yeah.
It's great. And we are live, Jabs. Hello, thank you everyone for being here. We are live indeed. We're not
Or did
gonna
we
chat too
pre-record
much.
the thing where we say we're live, by the way, but we're not?
Exactly.
How could
but we
you
knew you were
tell?
gonna be in chat.
How
Yeah,
could
we're
you
gonna be
tell?
doing a Q&A at the end of this. If you have any questions, again, pop them at the end because that's where we.
What's up, FPS Gamer? Thanks for joining us live.
Indeed.
Hang
Hello,
out at the end for
hello.
some Q&A. We played another game with David Phillips and Maybeth, an old game called Igloo
This
Pop.
game was wild.
This game is so
Euro heavy.
silly.
Yeah.
You're like a Yeti. The story of the game is insane, where you're like a Yeti looking for like frozen fish stick popsicles, and you're shaking up igloos looking for them, but then there's these kids in there that are tumbling around having a great time.
Having a grand time.
So anyway, the point of this game is you have all these little igloos that have like little balls or something in them, so
Yeah.
they rattle and make sound. And there's I think
this
between 2 on the low end and 13 on the high end between them. And so when the round starts, there's all these cards laid out that say like 8, 9, 3, 2, 13. And what you're doing is you start picking up, and on the bottom of the igloo it says how many are in there, but you can't look. You have to shake it and try to hear how many you think are in this. And you can tell the difference between 2 and 13, but can you tell the difference between 7 and 8?
Not
And
really.
you're trying to like listen, like, I think that's a 6, and put it onto a card, like mark a card essentially saying that like, this is mine. And then you go around and try to see if you're correct. And if you're correct, you get to collect the card, which have little people on them, which are like sort of your victor boys, the happy kids. And the cards are like, if they have 3 numbers on them, you have a better chance of putting it down and
get
maybe
less
lucking
points,
into hitting it, but you only get 1 point. If there's only 1 number on it, you'll get 3 points, but you have to be correct.
Yes.
And if you're incorrect,
It's
you lose
tough.
your little disc and stuff. It's a super
It was
silly
so
game that
fun.
was really, really fun. This one is like very out of print and not around, but it was a delight.
Yeah.
Really enjoy it. We played again with a kid. I'm like, that's a perfect family game.
Yeah, it was really fun.
It's so fun. And there's times where you're like really great and you nail it. And there's times you're like, what did I think I heard? Because everyone's doing it all, like it's chaotic.
Turns out you were off by like 6, and you're like, what?
You're like,
what
"Ah."
was I? I don't know. It was really
Igloo
fun.
Pop was adorable.
It was
though.
ridiculous. Jim, we have made a top 10 solo games. It's one of our most viewed videos, so
Yeah, check it
it's
out.
on our front page.
We could
now.
probably do
stand to do
again.
another one. We
Yeah.
honestly could, yeah.
I played Isle
You
of
have
Skye.
played Isle of Skye. I want to play this.
I have the app for it. I bought it on a sale once upon a time for like $3 or $2 or something, but I hadn't ever played it. And this is an Alexander Pfister game. It's a co-design, which I didn't realize. And so I had always heard that Cartographers borrows the scoring system from Isle of
Yeah, I
Skye,
have
where you're
heard that.
doing like a couple scoring conditions of many, and each of them will score multiple times. So in Isle of Skye, I think there's 6 of them. No, there's 4 of them. They each score 3 times in the game.
Yeah.
There's 6 rounds. So I was like, that's my only tie to Isle of Skye. I didn't know like anything about the game.
Yeah.
And so I finally like have it on my Steam and I download it. I'm like, I'm just gonna do the tutorial. I'm gonna see what kind of game this is. And then it's like very like light, accessible game, which I did not know. It's basically Carcassonne with like a couple more things to it.
Sounds
And a
great.
little bit of bidding and stuff. And so what you're doing is you're taking these tiles and you're kind of bidding for these tiles and stuff. You kind of set prices for your 3 tiles. One of them you're going to discard.
Yeah.
And then the other 2 you'll have set prices for, which means if no one buys them from you, you're going to buy them from yourself. So you've lost that cash. But then you can go around and buy one other person's tile. So you'll have like probably between 1 and 3 tiles at the end of the round. And then you put those tiles in and you have to match like land to land, water to water, or mountain to mountain. Then there's some roads and stuff. And then all the tiles have these like things on like sheep and cattle and whiskey. And if you have your whiskey on a road that connects back to your castle, you'd produce $1 every round because of that. And then you have these scoring things where like for every completed area of mountains you have, so like they're kind of like the city in Carcassonne, they're fully complete and contained, you get 2 points. So you're trying to build out your thing to satisfy these scoring conditions,
sounds
which
fun.
will trigger multiple times. But it's like light and awesome. And I was like, this game is so good. And I you know, and it's not really that available. And I'm like, oh man, like I really want this game now because it's kind of like Carcassonne Plus. And I was like, this is great. So I'm so glad I know it now. Get the app. The app works really well.
And they're saying, Chan said, if you have the physical copy, check out the Druids expansion. I'll never play without it.
There you see,
I know.
Oh, I want to do
You know,
that.
Mike, you know what I realized? I don't think I sent you my list.
Oh.
So I'm just gonna have you talk about this while I pull up my list. Ooh, I like this one too.
Kites. This
We
is
played this
another
right
one.
after we played
This is
Decorum.
one that's coming from Floodgate Games, maybe in the summer, sometime this year. It is a real-time game with all these sand timers that have different amounts of sand in them, and they're different colors. And what you're doing is you're essentially, the themes is you're trying to keep your kites afloat.
Yes.
And so
Trying
what
to keep
the
up in
way
the
that
how
takes
you fly
place,
kites?
you got nice bestseller art. Yeah.
Oh, it's
do
great.
this a bunch.
It's cool.
You have these cards, these beautiful cards with 1 or 2 colors on them. And what you do on your turn is you play one of your cards, and if it's a blue, for example, you will flip the blue sand timer. If you have there's cards that have white on them, and there's a white sand timer, or you can choose the white ones to flip any other color.
Yes.
And you're just trying to keep sand in the timers.
Gotta keep going.
So you kind of want stuff to get down a ways, but then play a red and flip the red before it goes out, because if you go out, you're in trouble. And you're just trying to mitigate. It's all real time, and you're effectively trying to get through all your cards before you run out of time.
Yeah.
But you're trying to be like, oh gosh, yellow's coming up, and you're like,
yellow?
I don't have yellow, so you got to
yellow?
play an orange really quickly and get to the next person. They play a yellow, and so you're hooting and hollering.
Really fast communication.
Really fast communication.
And this game isn't out yet. That's
It's
why
not
you
out
haven't
yet.
heard
This
of
is
it
coming.
yet. So yeah.
This one's coming soon, but we wanted to get the word out because it
was
really
really
fun, quick, real-time game. Beautiful art on the cards. Not that you have much time to look at it, but it is awesome. And it was just a really fun time of like, you just ended up like, go, you got to play blue, you got to play blue.
Yeah,
like, okay.
it's
really
hectic,
fun.
but it's really, really fun. I like
Really,
it a
really
lot. Lisa said your top roll and write list inspired me to be a better person. You should make another one of those. Is that why? What did we say during that? I'm glad. That's
Thank
great.
you. We're here to inspire.
Ooh, we played this. Oops, a little bit. We played this yesterday on Twitch, actually, with the designer Justin Campaign. This is a really cool game. This is a game that's going to be out on like Kickstarter in like the summer, so it's going to be a minute.
Yeah.
But this game was fun. We played it twice now. I really, really, really like it.
Yeah.
But this is a game where it's a cooperative game where you're in this fantasy world where there's a bunch of these big old Leviathans, these big old like titans and stuff like that. The first one's like this big rock turtle, just humongous beings.
And you're literally
But they've been corrupted by some kind of dark energy. I don't know.
There's binding crystals.
Binding crystals. And so basically what you're doing is you are climbing around these Leviathans. It's basically, it's on a big spiral bound board book thing. And it has the Titan on it in a bunch of, essentially a big grid. And you are climbing around the grid, climbing around the Leviathan, and essentially destroying these crystals.
Right.
Because you're essentially saving the Leviathans. You're not hurting them. You're trying to save their lives. But the problem is because they're like corrupted, they don't know that. And so they're constantly like, they're constantly trying to attack you. And so it's a basically a game where, because it's like a big boss fight, they're always telegraphing what they're going to do. So you draw out a card. It basically shows you what they're going to do.
Who's going to be targeted.
Who's going to be targeted. What kind of, a lot of times they have these big area of effect attacks going on. But that doesn't resolve until after your turn. And so then you're trying to like get out of the way of the attacks while also like traversing and like scaling this big Leviathan to try to attack these crystals. But you have all these cards that you can play, and a lot of the cards you can play off turn. So, because you can be in the area of attack, not on your turn, and they have to play this card to go over there, and you can play cards on other people. Like, would this help you? Okay, boom, go up there. You can jump up there because you can like jump around and stuff like that. And we rock climb, and so it's got a lot of like cool like rock climbing terms in it, and it's really,
a card like
really
Dino.
fun.
Like that's an actual move.
Dinoing
you
is
would
a
jump
real
up
move.
into the side typically to do that.
Yeah.
Like, that's accurate.
And so it's really cool. So we've played the tutorial one, which is like the big turtle, and then you flip it over, and then it's like it's actually this one right here. It's like this big lanky one.
Yeah.
And the map is totally different.
Totally different. The abilities and attacks are thematic. Like they kept doing these side swipes because they have these big arms, and you think like they're sliding
and
through
this
this
big like slinging attack. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And so the maps are totally different. And they're saying they're hoping to have 20 different Leviathans in the book.
Pretty cool.
And so it's really, really cool. Keep an eye out for it because I really, really like it.
Yeah, we really enjoyed it.
And the
I'm
next
so
one's this
excited.
big like lightning snake,
lightning
and it's
chain
like
attacks.
wild.
Yeah.
It seems real cool. It was really, really fun though.
Really fun.
Really fun. I liked it a lot. You played the new.
I
crushed.
I played the new Libertalia and I retired instantly. I crushed so hard that I broke the score dial. Libertalia Winds of Gayle Crest is not a retheme, but like a new edition of Libertalia. With new art and stuff, a couple new cards and things, but it's very much Libertalia of old, where you're pirates, now you're anthropomorphized animal pirates, flying around, and it's a game where you all start with the same exact cards.
Yes.
The same exact, each card's a different type of character, so you have the same exact characters. And there's a little bit of like deduction of and bluffing and chicken where you're like, I'm gonna play this card now and hope that no one else plays it, because if I'm the only one that plays this particular card right now, I get a big benefit. But if 2 people play it, we knock each other's cards out or something like that. So you're trying to like hold back cards to do the, you're trying to outfox each other. And based on the ability, you get to trigger those. Then based on the rank, the higher numbers get to pick up loot from that day first. So you also want to have like a high ranked individual, because you want to take loot, because there's loot that can actively hurt you and stuff. So it's a fantastic game. If you like Libertalia, I think you'll like this one a lot. I really like the color, and it's kind of fun and stuff like that. We personally like the look of the old Libertalia.
I like the old Libertalia. I like
this one a lot.
I like the look of this one less personally. I like the kind of grittier look of the old one.
Sure.
But this one also looks cool.
Yeah, I like that you have the tokens, or these like acrylic tokens.
This one's got more of like a Tidal Blades kind of, at least in terms of like the color palette and stuff like that.
Yeah. So it's really fun. If you like Libertalia, you'll like this one as well, because it's the same game.
Yeah.
And it reminded me that, hey, I really like Libertalia. So
hey, that works.
Yeah.
All right, so that was Libertalia. Real quick for mobile markets, Mikey, I'm gonna talk about one that was a new game to me that I don't think is on here.
Oh, did you just turn that off?
I did this. Oh yeah, you're right.
Oh, sir, I was gonna say you should have saved these all for the end, but we're here now.
That's fine. Well, I'm putting in the new area. We're right here. It's easy to get here. Okay, so I'm gonna talk about the Banishing real quick, which you did not play.
No.
But I played with Legends and Slackfish. Shouts out to Legends and Slackfish. The Banishing, which is a really interesting cooperative game where everyone has essentially their own character, and there's like this kind of tableau of cards, like this big row of cards, and you essentially are trying to banish these, oh god, what were they called? Demon type baddies, right? And then you have to collect cards and then turn in cards, like certain sets of cards, to be able to do abilities on your player board. And everyone had different abilities. Like Slackfish was kind of like the more tanky kind of person, could take more damage. But like every single time you're taking these demons, you're getting, I think they're skeletons actually, you're taking them and you're getting damage and stuff like that. And it was really, really tough. And it was really, really cooperative, because you can like pass cards around and stuff like that. And so I just want to shout out the Banishing real quick, because that was a game where I had never ever heard of it. And
it's not new, right?
No, I don't believe so. I think it's a couple years old, and Legends had it, and I was just like, oh, okay, cool, yeah, let's play this. And it was really, really, really fun.
Yeah.
And really, really cooperative. So you like tough, we almost won, but we lost. Tough, really cooperative feeling games that aren't very long. It was probably like 20 minutes or so like that. Nice. And everyone was very different and stuff like that. It was really, really cool. But you're just trying to banish out these undead. It's really, really fun. And you kind of go through phases, and the undead get like stronger and stronger and stronger. Nice. So it's one of those things where it just keeps getting worse. But really, really fun was the Banishing. And so I just want to talk about that real quick, because this is in the new area. I think all the other stuff that I played that you did was stuff we've played before. Okay. So I was like,
So go back now. We haven't talked about.
Oh, that's right. That's right. We're not. Mobile markets. We've been trying to play this for a minute.
We've been trying to play this for a hot minute. It's still not really available yet over here, and I feel for Arcane Wonders, such as life in 2022.
Shout out to Bonita.
Bonita,
our way in to get
had this and showed it to us along with Casey, aka Brain in a Jar. So Mobile Markets is a smartphone ink game that is reminiscent of Smartphone Inc., but it takes away kind of the area control big board, and instead focuses on phone making, and is really kind of dynamic in that from round to round you will wildly shift the types of phones you're making.
I'm saying cheap phones.
Whether you're making cheap
the
phones,
new iPhones,
expensive phones, what kind of features you have. I feel like in Smartphone Inc., it's more of a general, you build up a certain thing, and this is sort of like every round is like a new year, new phone, you know? And so you get to build.
It really is.
You get to build these kind of this engine of features and stuff, and it's really fun to put together. Like, what kind of features do you want to have on your phone? The more features you have, kind of the more expensive the phone is to produce. That cuts into your costs. Yeah. So you have to.
But it generally appeals to more people.
So you can try to catch more people. Yeah. And then the amount of units you have to sell, there's a lot of cards out, and you have to kind of sell it to the cheapest people first.
Yeah.
And so you need to have enough units to be able to get through that, and then sell to the kind of higher paying customers, but they have to have those features. So this is a game that I was like, man, this is really fun. I really enjoy the card play.
Yeah.
And just,
I really liked it. I think I liked it pretty significantly more than Smartphone Inc.
I think so too, because we don't care so much for the, it's nothing against Smartphone Inc., which is really fun, but I don't care so much about the area control part of the board. You have the little tablet action building
Yeah.
stuff, which you still have in this one. So it takes kind of all the best parts of
And
Smartphone
this one,
Inc.
the constantly
then
trying to like,
adds-
oh god, what is Mike gonna sell his phone for? Like,
Yeah.
I want to try
You
to
really get into,
I
like,
really
where
want
you
to be
price
less
stuff.
than everyone else. What do
Because
I
if you
think?
price your stuff cheaper, you also get to go
First,
first
yes.
for all of the different phases of the round. So it's a big benefit.
It's a really fun kind of mind
and
game.
Brain
to
and
do.
Jar
It's-
kept just dumping her prices and taking everything. Is a solid game. I hope this comes out like
Yes.
widely
And I know they've
in
been
North
trying
America
to get
soon.
it here, and man,
Because man, I think it's been stuck in like sort of like customs
Limbo and
harbor
stuff,
Hades for some time. So,
yeah, it's real fun though.
but it's really good.
Really fun. We played Nightmare Cathedral, which is a game. This was it might still be on GameFound.
I think it's just
or
wrapping
maybe
up.
just ended, but
I
no,
think
this
it's
is
wrapping up soon.
a game by Board and Dice, who we love very, very much.
and Dice.
Board and Dice. But this is a game based off of Beksinski's art, who does this kind of art right here, which is very like
dreadful,
uncomfortable kind of horror art.
Ugh.
Not like gruesome horror, but just like you're kind of like this
Kinda
makes me-
gross,
This is
but-
not what Notre Dame's supposed to look like, kind of
Yeah, you're
situation.
like, that's wrong.
And so
So wrong.
this is an area control game based around this art. So that kind of art is there's a big old Nightmare Cathedral like that you're kind of building throughout the game, and you're can control these nightmares. But the game is interesting because it's a big area control game, but there is like a neutral.
halves.
Yeah, and there's a
characters.
neutral characters, and so because we played it 2-player in big area control games, you're like, how's it gonna play a 2-player? We will say there's this 2-player board, which is nice.
It's nice. Tighter map. Tighter map.
And we did a game house for this. If you want to check it out, you
Check it
can.
out.
But it was actually really fun because a lot of these kinds of area control games, a lot of times there's card playing in it.
Yeah.
And to me, an area control game, especially one with cards, like 100% to me hinges on, is the card play interesting? Because
That's why we like War of the Ring, for example.
Yes.
The card play is really
the
interesting.
card play is very, very interesting. Because other than that, you're just rolling dice or like, I have more units than you buy. And so the card play is really, really interesting because you essentially have these 5 different actions you can do, and you can upgrade those actions, and you can play cards, which do a whole bunch of different effects. But you're essentially going around and like changing troops out to your own troops and like fighting other people and building this cathedral. But then that's the first half of the game. The second half of the game, 2 nightmares come out. And depending on what kind of game you want, you kind of choose the nightmares.
Kind of different feel.
And then basically, these nightmares are going around and devouring followers, and you kind of want them
to
to devour
people.
your followers. And it's like one of those things. So you're kind of setting yourself up to then like wipe out all your people with the nightmares. It was super weird, but it worked, and I actually really liked it. Like it's a game that like I don't know how often we'd play, but like this as a kind of a bigger area control game is one I would be happy to play.
Yeah, for me, I thought I enjoy it and stuff. It's not like a home run to me. I think the game is like solid. But also it's not, that might change before it comes out and stuff. So I'm curious, but it is an area control game we'd play, which is saying something because it's not our typical
favorite
go-to.
mechanic. Yeah, so
Yeah, and if you like that kind of art and style and stuff, the minis are 3D representations of Beksinski's work and stuff, which is really cool. So yeah, I enjoy a lot of the things in it. I'm really bad at the game, which is one thing. I feel like I haven't cracked it yet.
I did win pretty well.
Yeah, but I enjoyed it and stuff. But for me, not a home run. But I think part of that's just because it's an area control game.
Yeah, it's good though.
Yeah.
We finally got to play Paleo. We've been trying to
Paleo!
play for a long time, I feel like.
I know people have suggested this since when it came out last
Since the
year
dawn
and
of
stuff.
time.
Yeah, the dawn of time. Make sure you get some thumbs up here in chat if you haven't already,
fam.
by the way.
Thumbs
So
up.
Paleo is a cooperative game where you are kind of trying to survive long enough to accomplish your goal, which will be dictated by the modules you're playing
Yes.
with. You'll have different ways of scoring points. You're trying to get to 5 points before you get 5 skulls, and 5 skulls is bad.
Right.
Usually you get that when you can't feed your people, or sometimes your people die because things go poorly for you. And this was kind of billed to us as a less brutal Robinson Crusoe, which is
It
a
did
very
feel like
hard
that.
survival game. And this is a survival game that did feel not easy. Well, granted, we only played like the first module,
that
so it
is
could get
true.
harder from here. But it's just a little less like heartbreakingly tough. You have to think about your stuff.
Yeah.
You have to take some risks. You have to allocate your resources smartly, and you will take some hits, but you can probably get it done. And I loved the level of difficulty here because it wasn't a gimme. We had to be smart. We had to think about stuff, but we were able to survive.
Yes.
And we learned throughout. You start to learn these cards because basically what you're doing is taking, you can look at the backs of 3 cards, and the backs of cards will give you some information about what's going to be on the other side. Like If it's a river, it's probably going to have some food and some rocks. But you don't know
There might
what
be
you're
a bear
going.
there.
There
Yeah.
might be a bear at the river this day, so you don't know. But you're like, okay, I feel like that's pretty good, and you'll flip it over, and then you have to deal with what
Yeah.
you have. Nick will do the same, and we all have to kind of deal with what we have. We can help each other out on each other's tasks and stuff. There's some danger cards which you can't just ignore. You have to deal with or take damage and stuff. It's really fun. And it's kind of cool because I was explaining the game to Nick on air, and it's kind of like you can explain a couple little things, and then it just says like, just start.
Just start.
And I love that. There's some games that do that. We're like, just start playing.
Just start playing.
You'll
be fine.
You'll figure it out. And you do.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's really kind of cool because the point is like it's built on mystery. So I don't want to start showing you a bunch of cards because then you start to see what the cards are, which is important. So anyway,
cool.
Long story short, Paleo, really enjoyable, great production, really want to play it again. Yeah, I was like, this is cool. This is cool. I really like that one.
Let's see what's next. I think I'm going to go again here. Yes, indeed. So, because the next one I played is Parade, which actually would have been right now.
You did.
I played Parade for the first time. I played with
Yes.
I played with
I played
Monique
it
and
once
Naveen.
a long time ago with Visor.
Yeah, I played with Monique and Naveen from Before You Play. Check them out. They're wonderful. And Thinker Themer from here on YouTube. Also check them out.
Some of our very
They're so
favorite
wonderful.
people. That's
Some of our
it.
favorite
Go
people on the planet.
subscribe to Before You Play and Thinker Themer if you haven't already.
They're just outstanding. So we played Parade, which is not like a new game, but this is a game
But
where
it is a good game.
there's a parade going on, and you essentially are trying to
Set in like Alice in Wonderland?
Yeah,
world?
it's set like Alice in Wonderland. And you're essentially trying to have like no points. That's what you want, is to have absolutely
golf score.
no points. And so you basically don't want to collect cards unless they're very, very low cards, if you can help it.
Because every card's points.
Every card is
Based on
points,
their
and you
value.
don't want points, exactly. Or if you do collect cards, you want to shoot the moon with that particular suit. And so it's really, it's kind of interesting. And so basically what is, you have to add to the parade, and then basically, say I put on a green 6 at the end of the parade. You then have to count 6 cards in, because I put down a 6, and you essentially have to take every
card.
No, you have to take every card that matches that card's color. So in this case, green, or every card that I believe is higher than it. So the thing is, so you're basically trying to put out cards so you don't have to take anything, or if you do have to take something, it's like a 1 or something like that. So you're not getting a lot of points.
So ideally you play a 6 green when there's a bunch of blues and reds and da-da-da's 5, so that within that 6 there's nothing and you take 0 cards.
Yes, exactly. That's kind of the hope. Because at the end of the game, you want
It's been a long
points.
time since I played, so I can't really remember. But
at the end of the game, if you have the most like reds, you then get to flip them over, and they all are only 1. So if you are like, okay, I got a lot of
So you
reds,
might as
now
well
I
all
have to
in.
try and get reds. But you also don't want to get too many because they're only 1s. And I was like not doing great. And so I was just like, you know what? I think I'm gonna try and shoot the moon on every suit and win this thing. I did not succeed. I don't think I shot the moon on any of them. I didn't lose.
Okay.
I had like 40 something points. The good thing is Monique had slightly more points than me, and she was like, that is the highest points I've ever seen in this game. And I was like, all right, cool, we both suck at this game. It was great, but it was so much fun. The people were great, and I really liked it. It's a good little filler game. That's one I actually really want to pick up. That's Parade. Mike, Slivers wants you to talk about Set a Watch.
I played Set a Watch with Slivers. Thank you, Slivers. Taught me, Slivers owns this game, and taught me Set a Watch. And this, I was taught by a very good teacher in Slivers. This is a cooperative game where you are fighting these kind of a row of monsters that comes out, and it's very much whatever's the first thing in line is what you're attacking. If you have range, you can attack the first and second card in line, and you're sort of trying to mitigate this line of stuff and attack the thing which will bring the next creature in line, and you're kind of dealing with their effects. There's sometimes like effectively surge effects. They do something right away. They do something when they're killed. And you're trying to mitigate this stuff. And you use these dice you roll to allocate to your different types of actions and stuff. This is a really fun game because it was one that kind of ramps up and stuff. But it's this co-op experience. It's like, okay, well, if you attack this, then they'll move forward. Then I can hit them for this. And then this person over here can do this. But there's always one person that stays behind at camp, and they kind of have to mitigate some of the different things. You can basically look at what location you're headed to next. You can your campfire is a kind of vital resource for you, so you can keep the campfire strong, which will help limit the amount of things you have to deal with because you can effectively see further.
Makes sense.
And so it's really fun to work out like when does someone stay behind. And then they can't use their actions to fight stuff. They can use all their dice and things for these different types, but they're the only ones that can do these other types of actions.
Yeah.
there's a lot of fun stuff, and then you kind of go and fight like a big bad at the end. It was one that was really enjoyable. It's a nice little production. It actually uses the box. You open up the box,
Love
and
games
inside
use
the box you store cards. The box lid kind of flips out, and that's the camp where you do your actions. And I like when they use that. So there's an economy. The box is like, yay big, just a little rectangle and stuff. So it's like, okay, this is very cool. And each of your characters are different. They have different abilities. You can be like the druid type or the more kind of tanky barbarian and stuff. Characters that are more focused on range and everything. And you have these different dice you roll. There's some D6s or D8s and stuff. There's a lot of fun things in this game that I really enjoyed it. So Slivers, thank you for teaching it and let me play. Yeah.
Glenn said, "Green from Norway to my favorite Cali Norwegians." I like
Hey.
that. Hello,
Thank
fellow.
you,
We're
Glenn.
not Norwegian. We're American, but we have Norwegian descent.
We're Norwegian. Yeah.
That's what I was reading. Something was like
stock.
I was reading like a Reddit thread, and it was basically like, what do like Americans do that really baffles you? And people are like constantly saying they are something when they're just American. Like, I'm Irish. It's like, you're American.
Yeah,
it's like, it's like you have Irish descent, but you're not Irish. You're
interesting.
American. But nonetheless,
Yeah.
thank you so much for being here.
Appreciate
Okay, set a watch. Time's up.
Time's up. All right. Well, thanks for coming to the stream.
Thanks
everybody.
up. Appreciate you, everybody.
That's
Hilarious. Time's Up is a great game. This is a game where I've played this game before, but I knew Time's Up was a game. It's kind of one of those things where you're like, we made this game. People are like, we've been doing this for 10 years.
This is a game that has just been
It's like a parlor game.
done in parties and parlors forever. So this is a game where you have a bunch of cards. I think there's 40 cards, say, between everybody. You kind of deal them all out to all the players, and you're on a team with somebody. And they're going to be, this one is titled Recall, so it's all about like movies and TV and books and things
stuff
like
that we know pretty well.
Stuff that we would know well.
Music, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and so this is one where in the first round, I'm trying to get my person to guess, guessing. You can't say rhymes with this.
Yeah.
You can't say the name of the thing, but you can say whatever else to get someone to guess that it's the Jetsons.
I'll be back.
About.
Terminator. Good.
Okay,
and
good.
you
Boom.
move on.
Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? It's one of those two things. And then as you people guess, you get your cards down. Those are going to be points for you. And then once you go all the way through all the cards, so all the players, you make use of all the cards. Next round, you shuffle up all those cards before. So we've all seen every clue once.
Everyone has seen it, yeah.
We know Terminator's in there. We know the Jetsons is in there. We know Home Improvement's in there. We know these things.
Yeah.
So in the next round,
one word
you're
clues.
drawing cards. You can only give one word.
So it would be like, Bach.
And they'll be like, okay, Terminator?
Because you have the reference point.
Yeah. And then they do that round. And then the third round, you can only do gesture and like humming. You cannot say words at all.
So it'll be like, blah, 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 and they'll be
you're
like, Terminator? And
you know?
yeah.
And so the fun thing that's cool with this is that you end up with inside jokes and stuff that are born from the game that you are playing.
Only in that game.
Not from like a history that Nick and I have necessarily, but like we had something where in the first round we mixed up Jetsons and Jeffersons.
I specifically mixed up Jeffersons.
And so Nick's just like, moving on up, moving on up.
No, it was
like,
the other way
what?
around where the car was the Jeffersons, but I read the Jetsons. So I was like, it's like a cartoon set in space and down there the Jetsons. And then I looked at it, I was like, that says the Jeffersons. And then I was like,
so in the second round, Nick's just like, Jeffersons. They're like Jetsons. In the third round, he's going like,
the second round, I was like,
and like
exactly.
Jefferson,
because it becomes
it's this inside joke.
It's so good.
It's a fantastic game that people just play by putting stuff into a hat. There's a bunch of board games that are just this game, but it's super fun.
Time's Up is incredible.
Yeah,
so good. Okay, I think it's the last of our new games. We're probably close to it. We played the Wizard of Oz adventure book game by Ravensburger.
Yes.
We had been wanting to try. We actually have the Princess Bride one of these
over there,
but we're not really attached to Wizard of Oz like in any real way. Like, I don't dislike the Wizard of Oz, but like neither of us are like, we didn't really grow up on the Wizard of Oz,
No,
we grew up on the Princess Bride. That was kind of like our Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
But we were playing this game for Ravensburger on our stream, and man, oh man, was this cool. This is another game that's in one of those like spiral bound books. And so each page you turn is a new scenario, and you're going through the Wizard of Oz. You start off in Kansas.
Through the next part of this. Yeah,
you start off in Kansas. And like the art is super cool because the whole thing in the first page is like that kind of sepia tone, black and white, brown looking stuff. And you're essentially going through the story. So you have like the farm hands and you have
tornadoes coming.
You have to like go around and make all these animals happy because the tornado's coming. You have to like fix the cart and all this kind of stuff. But it's just done in a very fun, cool way. And then once you're
just
done
little
that,
puzzles.
Yeah, you essentially have like 4 objectives you have to complete. And then one of them, if you complete it to a certain level, you essentially will get kind of some benefits. So you
Yes,
get
it's like song challenge. So it'll always be one of the famous songs. And
Exactly,
depending
right.
on you can do it like just like a card. But if you turn in 4 of whatever card, you get this cool.
yeah,
thing.
you get like what
Glinda the Good Witch's little you
her
get a
little boon or whatever.
Yeah.
But so then you flip the page, and then all of a sudden now we're in Oz. And we have
in
like
Munchkin
we're
land.
like Munchkin land, and it's like, and again, even though like we don't resonate with the theme that much because we didn't really grow up on Wizard of Oz, it was just the way they did it was so cool, and it was one of the things where like, man, if you're playing this with a family, especially a family who loves Wizard of Oz, like this is such a good game,
Yeah.
and it made me really want to play the Princess Bride one.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I love the Princess Bride, and
Yeah.
like we'll be making quotes, the references, and I thought it was a really cool
Wizard
system.
of Oz worked for us because even though we're like not super fans of it, like everyone knows the
Yes.
Wizard of Oz.
Yeah,
Like
the lollipop.
yeah, and so like it's really enjoyable to go through stuff because you're just hitting on this like nostalgia and this thing that we all like collectively know.
Yeah.
So yeah, like to Nick's point, I'm super excited to try Princess Bride 'cause I'm like that's an IP we're super into.
Yeah.
This was actually super fun and it
It
got
was.
me really excited to be like, okay, what other things are they gonna do? Because that one's numbered 1, this one's number 2, so I gotta think they're doing more, which
Dude,
is
Con
exciting
Air.
to see what they come up with.
Do
Ninja
Con
Turtles, let's do it.
Con Air. So I finally played Ark
You
Nova.
finally
this
played it.
technically is a new one for me.
Yes, that's why I put it, right here because I'm like, it's sort of a not new to me, new to you.
I then proceeded to play it 6 times in the month of March.
And now you hate it.
It's a trash game.
So
what can I
unfortunately, it's
say?
over.
It's a
Nick
bad
broke the game, and now it's over.
It's incredible. It lives up to the hype for me personally. I thought it was absolutely incredible. When we played it at Dice Tower West with Visor and Sass Queen, and it was great. But we were still we were up in our room playing it. So luckily we weren't like down
It was the night
floor.
before the con.
It was the night before the
started,
con.
yeah.
That's fair. But still, like at one point, like Paul and her husband came in, so we were like kind of hanging out while playing it. So I really was like, I want to sit down and just play this game, just like with like nothing else going on, basically. And so, because I really loved my first play of it, but I was like, to see how much I like it, we got to play just kind of in a normal gameplay setting. So Mike brought it over to my place, and so
You play it on your brand new table.
I went and bought a kitchen table because I needed a dining room table, and then Mike was like, "I'm gonna bring Ark Nova. We can play on your table." So he played it, and then Mike had to go home, and then I was like, "Leave the game." And then literally the second he left, I soloed it immediately. That's how much I like it. And then I played it like 3 or 4 more times in that month. So it's incredible.
It's super
absolutely
good. James can't get it in the UK just yet. Hopefully
too bad,
it
James. It's
arrives
really
soon
good.
for you there and is available. It's been hard to come by, but it is really good. If you do get a chance to try
Yeah.
it, we highly recommend.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really good. Play Dice Miner. Always be playing some Dice Miner.
Dude, because it's just very playable.
It's
very,
one of the best
very
filler
playable.
games ever.
We played this a couple times. I played this IRL during Dice Tower West. We streamed it and
IRL.
stuff. And then we played it on Sovereignty.
Yeah, with Paul and Matthew.
With Paul and Matthew, and it works fantastically on Sovereignty. If you haven't tried Sovereignty, it's SOVRIANTI, Sovereignty. Sovereignty, as we used to say. It works fantastically in real life and then in that digital space.
Yep.
It's just a fun filler type game. You can play it in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And that can probably include a teach. And you're just mitigating bad dice luck, but you're drafting out these dice from this actual mountain. And you can only kind of take stuff that's like
It's like Pyramid Solitaire kind of, but the other way around.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Someone said that it's kind of like between Seven Wonders Duel, where you have information about what is available, and you're trying to like take stuff that doesn't just open up something for you to take. But it's also like Sushi Roll because there's just dice luck rolling stuff going on, and you're trying to put together sets of 1 through 5 of these white dice to be
Trying to get
sets.
gems.
Getting a bunch of gems. You want to have the
mitigate
most
bad
gems.
stuff.
If you have danger dice, you want to have things that protect you from the dragons and make those negative points positive points. Light, fun, highly recommend. Great at all player counts. It's just a good,
It's really
good
good.
time.
It's really good.
Goes down smooth and it's quick.
Yeah, it's really quick. Real quick, I played Barron Park with our brother and sister.
Oh yeah.
Mike got married. Congrats down in the chat. Congratulations to Mike who just got married. So our brother and sister were down here for the wedding and stuff. And we're all hanging out. And so I introduced him to Barron Park, and it is just such a good game. Praise be.
Praise be to
Phil
Phil.
Underharden. Praise be.
Harding, baby.
It's just so good. It's a game where you're making a bear zoo and you're drafting these polyomino tiles and putting them in your park. And it just works. We talked about it a bunch of times. It's one of the best family weight games out there. It's one of my favorite games to introduce to new people because it's maybe a little tough for like someone's very, very first game, but like it's pretty darn accessible and it's just satisfying to put the little puzzle pieces together and make your park work. And it just works so well. I absolutely love Barron Park.
Agreed.
But I played that with our brother and sister. It was
Love that
great.
game. Need to play it again. Thanks for
It's so good. It's so good.
Abandon all of your
Ooh.
artichokes. This is a fantastic, quick deck wrecking game. It uses deck building mechanisms. But you start off with 10 artichokes, and the whole point of the game is to hopefully draw a hand of 5 cards at the end of your turn that has no artichokes present. Obviously, if your entire deck is artichokes, it's going to take a minute to get that done.
I don't think I've ever won this game.
You got to just keep
Mike
playing.
is really good at this game.
I feel like I do well.
I don't know how you get those artichokes out of your hand.
I just do. I mean, every time I just take them, I put them over there.
Leave me
I
artichokes.
just get rid of them illegally.
This game is so good.
And so you're basically going to draft a vegetable card. There's, I think, 10 types of vegetables.
Yeah.
They all do different things. You're going to take one from the center row and make use of it immediately. And that's going to allow you to compost, which is trashing cards. Maybe compost an artichoke. Maybe draw an extra vegetable card. Take a card, put it from your deck on top of your thing. You can draft cards around. You can do some take that stuff. There's a whole bunch of little things, but you're trying to ultimately trash all those artichoke cards so that you have a higher chance of drawing out at the end of your turn. You always draw 5 cards, and you hope to have no artichokes. If you do, you win the game. So it's a fantastic,
such a cool win condition too.
I think
like,
it's
what
great.
a weird. It just works.
Yeah.
I love it.
A deck building game focused solely on trashing as many cards as you can.
It's great.
It's great. So
it's really good.
love that game. Comes in a beautiful tin. It's a great game.
It's great. We played Boon Lake a couple
Boon
times.
Lake. We did.
Boon Lake is great. This is a game that we kind of like Ark Nova. They both came out like more or less at the same time, and both were kind of like everyone was talking about them. Boon Lake has definitely kind of like people don't talk about it much anymore. Yeah. I think mostly just because Ark Nova is kind of like
sort of
towards the stratosphere. It's in like the top 30 on BGG at this point. Like it's insane.
Crazy.
Boon Lake is great though. This is a new Alexander Pfister game, and this is a game.
We like it a lot.
We do like it a lot. It's a big, long Euro game where we just did it. A lot of these games we've had Game House for. Check out our Game Houses. We think they're really good.
Keep them out today.
But nonetheless, we are. God, there's uninhabited land, and you're essentially putting down settlements, exploring stuff, getting your production up, moving down the river, getting boons, playing tons and tons and tons of cards, making your stuff more efficient with your modernization. It's really, really fun. I do like this game a lot, and I really, really enjoy it. We have talked about this a couple times already. I'm a little worried after we've played it, I think 3 times now. I am worried after like 5 or 6 plays, it's going to feel static because at this point, I feel like I've seen the entire game. It's still enjoyable to play, but I'm kind of like, okay, I feel like I've done everything in this game. And I think I'll still enjoy it for a couple more times here, but then I feel like okay, I'm kind of not like, oh, I hate this now. Just kind of like, okay, I'm cool, I'm done. And we kind of talked about it. So I think it's going to need expansion. The only issue with that is the game is very long. With 2 players, and Mike and I play very quickly generally.
It's like a 2-hour game.
It's like a 2-hour game. And so my only worry is if you add an expansion, that's probably going to add time to it, essentially. So Alexander, if you're watching it, make an expansion makes the game a little shorter and adds more stuff. But I do really, really like this game. I do think that it'll become a bit static after 5-6 plays, but here's the thing. In my opinion, 5-6 plays of a game, great. I got my values worth. Oh, no problem.
If we do that, we teach it to a couple people. I'm like, that's no problem fantastic value. It's really, really fun. Like we're not trying to
really liked it though.
Downplay the
it's been kind of
quality of the game. It's super solid, but it's just interesting.
We
how
really like it.
It's been a bit divisive, I think, for people. And I think with someone like Alexander Pfister, your reputation is so strong that something like this, I think, ultimately has left some people disappointed. But I'm like, it's not that it's a bad game.
I really like it.
You know, but we can kind of see the end of the road with this game a little bit.
Yeah, and that's fine.
Which is fine.
So Boon Lake, good though. We played Explore If I Praise.
Bill Walker Harding, baby.
Thumb this video up, praise bees in chat. Do it. Yeah. This is a game, it's just a little rolling, right? Or a little flip and fill.
Flip it and fill it where you were exploring a map.
Yeah, everyone has the same map. There's these 4 map tiles and someone randomly arranges them and then everyone else has to match that same thing. So there's a bunch of different ways the map can essentially be arranged.
8 map tiles. You only use 4 and you can rotate them many ways. There's, I think, infinity ways it can go together.
A billion, right? And so essentially you can essentially take these tiles that are going to have land types on them, which is like desert, water, mountains, like forest, whatever. And then you essentially are marking off spots on your map, kind of going around exploring it. You're making like go adjacent
3 little X's that kind of build out. Yeah, so it's like you literally walking over land.
Yeah, and then the one you take, the players can choose, what is it, the same?
There's two land types. So if you're the person who selects, if I choose the same thing that you picked, I only get to do 2 X's. If I choose the other terrain type, I get to do 3.
So you're always going to mark stuff down on everyone's turn, which is nice. Yeah. And there's a whole bunch of different stuff that you're trying to get these keys to open up chests, and you're trying to collect like food and like, gems and stuff. Just, classic Euro game, full hard
Random
stuff. But there's a whole bunch of different stuff because all the different scoring aspects can flip over to their opposite side, which is a different way of scoring. There's also these kind of like public objective cards you can go for, and there's like a whole bunch of different those. So this is one of those games that's like pretty simple, pretty easy, really fun. It has a billion different ways to play it because there's so many of those different tiles and stuff. I really like it. I think it's great. Praise be doing it. Praise be doesn't miss.
It's fun. If you like kind of cartographers, you'll like this. You're not making the map, but you're exploring the map.
It's just good.
And then there's just you can play it very bare bones, and then you can add extra challenges to your level. So there's kind of literally a lot to explore.
Yeah, it's quite good. It's quite good.
Yeah.
I played Paint the Roses. Paint the Roses. We're actually going to have a game house about this come out very soon.
Yes, we are.
Paint the Roses is a cool co-op deduction game, which I'm finding out is a genre I really like. I really like co-op.
Co-op deduction is a solid thing indeed. It's fun to work together to solve a puzzle.
Indeed. You know? So this is one where you are making the Queen's Garden. The Queen has the Queen of Hearts specifically, Alice in Wonderland stuff.
Yes.
And the queen wants her garden a very specific way, but she kind of doesn't really tell you that. She just kind of tells you her whims. Like, I want these bushes next to these bushes. But we all have different whims that she's told us, and we have to make the garden look the way she wants it.
You're kind of trying to please the queen. And so the tricky thing is that we can't talk too loud. We can't let people know that the queen's been talking to us because the queen is angry.
Yeah, she's
always angry. So we have to put down things that will satisfy the queen according to our whim. And when you get to put down a tile, you get to basically put cubes out for like every match that made with your whim, you get to put a cube out. So ideally you make something that makes multiple matches. And then Nick has to figure out like, okay, this tile matched with two things around it. What's the commonality here?
Pink roses next to the suit of clubs. Maybe that's what it is.
There's two of those, but there's also two pinks to yellows. Could it be that? I don't know. And you have to figure that out. And you have to guess at least one person's whim per round. And then the queen is always moving behind you on the track. You're literally moving around a track. When you complete whims, you get to move your gardeners forward around this track. And the queen is always chasing you down.
She has
if you make a wrong guess, she moves twice as fast, and she will continually speed up throughout the game. So you really have to keep guessing correctly to stay ahead of the queen. Yeah. And it's very hard. I think I've won one time and lost many.
It's very tough.
But it's very fun.
Really, really fun. Cashman says, play Search Planet X. We never will. Actually, we really want to.
It's back there staring us down. I see you.
I want to play.
We'll do it.
Paint the Roses is outstanding.
One of these days.
It's really good. We played Paleo, the City of Light. This game is cool. It's a little two-player kind of you're kind of jockeying for position. You're putting out these like polyomino
area control sort of. I mean, yeah. You're trying to put these cobblestone streets down and create ultimately big areas of your color. It's a two-player only game.
Yeah.
And then you hope to place these polyomino buildings down that you've drafted in that first half. So it's a game that's in two specific halves. Very quick game. The first half, you can either play down one of your tiles and rotate it however you want. And there's blue areas. If I'm the blue player, I want to have a lot of blue areas because I can fit more types of shapes. Nick wants to do the same thing for orange. There's purple, which can be used by anybody. And then there's these street lamps. So in the first half, you can also draft out these buildings. In the second half, you're going to place those buildings onto the board or make use of these action postcards that will allow you to maybe swap out a building that you drafted earlier.
Do a whole bunch of different stuff.
They might give you an extension of building, a whole bunch of things, and that's where a lot of the variety comes in the game. And then at the end of the game, you will score for your buildings, but you only score the size of the building multiplied by the amount of street lamps that are shining upon it so that people can see and admire the building. So you're trying to put all these stuff in a very tactical way, specifically on the board. It's very cool.
It's very, very tough. It's really fun though. I liked it a lot. We have the little expansion, which is nice. Just adds just more actions basically. And it's cool. And there's a bunch of different acts. I think there's like 12 at this point, or
there's 20 now. There's 12 in the base game, 8 more in the Eiffel. So you only use 8 per game, and you can use any 8 together. So
it's really, really cool the way it works. It's a little like King Domino sized box, and so it's small, little 2-player game. It's really, really fun. I like it a lot. Mikey, real quick, I played Merv.
Oh yeah, you did.
I played Merv at Dice Tower West. Merv is great. I played with Paula, Shay, and then I believe Legends, and it was really, really fun. I got to teach it. It had been a while since we had played it. And I really like Merv. It's a game where it's Merv, the heart of the Silk Road. And so you are essentially trying to go up a mosque track. You're trying to trade. You're trying to work with a caravan. You're trying to fulfill these contracts. A whole bunch of different stuff that you can do. And it's got this really interesting action selection system where your main meeple is going around this center board.
Around the city.
the city, which has all these actions. So you're going to activate like an entire row more or less, or you're going to activate all the buildings in one row. And so you're trying to put out your buildings and trying to essentially make like rows and columns that are like really strong for you mostly. And you're gaining resource, turning those resources, a whole bunch of different stuff. But it's got Ian O'Toole art. I think it's Ian's probably best work of any of his games. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. So I want to bring up Merv because I got to play Merv.
Merv.
It's great. We played Whirling Witchcraft.
Whirling Witchcraft.
Which is great.
It is.
It's great.
Whirling Witchcraft is a fantastic engine building game where you are going to be playing one card per round. There's card drafting as well. You're going to play one card out that's going to give you like a recipe, essentially. You can spend 2 frogs and a mandrake, and it's going to produce a bunch of spiders and some mushrooms.
Yeah.
And so everything that you spend on a recipe comes off of your little work board. And then everything you produce will go into your cauldron, which will eventually go to your opponent. I think it's you pass it to the right.
One of the directions.
And then your cards
cards
left go
go
the
the
other way
opposite
around.
way,
The point is the cauldron goes to the player on one of your sides.
Ian O'Toole is here. Hi, Ian.
What's up, Ian?
All your work's great. Merv's probably your best. It's incredible.
I mean, that's
Maybe one of the
saying a
best
lot,
covers
though.
in the game.
There's
one of the best covers
so much good
in
work.
the
Ian,
game
as
of
always, you know we appreciate your work.
Ian, we love you.
Keep it up.
Thank
Love your work so much. So at the end of the round, basically you'll take all these cubes, put them in a cauldron, and put them to the player to your side.
Yeah.
And then they have to take all those things and put them onto their workbench. And the whole goal is to overwhelm your opponent so that they do not have spaces enough on their workbench to take the color of cubes that you are giving them.
Yes.
If they cannot place it on their workbench because they're overwhelmed, they give you that cube back and it goes into your little winner's circle. And you want to be the first person to have 5 of those cubes in your winner's circle. But meanwhile, while I'm doing that, the player to my right is passing me a cauldron full
Chucking
of
stuff
stuff
at you, yeah.
that I now have to get rid of. So you're also trying to play these cards out that specifically allow you to spend the types of resources that are coming in so that you can output the resources that hopefully your opponent cannot spend. And so it's an engine building game dedicated to overwhelming your opponent.
Yeah,
It's specifically
fun.
building an engine that
We played
Nick
it like
can't
twice
handle.
back to back. It was super
It's a game
fun.
that you can just play round after round after round. It's so
Yeah,
fun.
Quicksand played it like 8 times at Dice West. Yeah.
It's so fun. It's just such a good game.
And Ian said, I love Weberson's artwork for this one. Yeah, Weberson
Oh, yeah.
Santiago is one of our favorite board game artists. Who did the art for this. So
Blood
good. It's
Ian,
just
yeah.
it's such an interesting art
fits,
style.
It fits. Yeah, Weberson's art fits really well in like
Really?
Halloween-y type games.
Indeed.
What do we got next? We got Bandito.
We got Bandito.
How Bandito?
Bandito's great. We played this after we played Ark Nova,
We
I
did?
believe, right?
No, we played it right before, I
Or
think.
maybe it was right before. Yeah, we
It
played
was
it that
warm
night.
up.
Really great game. One of my
Lost
favorite
badly.
one of my go-to co-op games at this point, where there is a bandito who is stuck in jail but is digging a tunnel out of jail. And you're essentially trying to cut off the routes. It can essentially go out 6 different ways. And you are trying to essentially make dead ends or loops of the thing. And basically, if you cut off all the different escape routes, you win the game. But you have 3 cards in your hand. The cards are going to have different routes on them. And you have to play one. And so often you're like, I only have cards that have like 4 exits on them. And so this one thing is now about to go into branch into 3. And so you're constantly trying to like close off loops and stuff like that and close off ends, but then eventually someone goes boom and another one comes out, opens here. It's really, really fun. It's very hard, but it's really, really fun. Bandito's great.
It's awesome. Played horrified American monsters with our
American
siblings and
Monsters.
lost terribly.
We did lose. We did not do well. Yes.
Horrified is there's now 2 games, Horrified then Horrified American Monsters, which are games where you are in this one facing down with famous North American cryptids.
Yeah.
So you have Bigfoot, you have Mothman, the Jersey Devil, things like that. And each of them will present basically a puzzle that you need to solve and to in this one kind of prove their existence and overcome them. But every round they're gonna be moving around, trying to attack people,
Doing
trying to attack
different
either
stuff,
you,
yeah.
trying to attack the citizens of the town that you're protecting, which raises the terror level. And they're really fun because they each act quite differently. They have different kind of behaviors and stuff. When their cards get drawn, like an event for that character, they all act differently. This is one that like I really enjoy the puzzles. There's nothing against the first Horrified, which we also quite enjoy.
Yeah.
In this one, they really soup up the kind of puzzles for the monsters and stuff. So it's like
It's tough.
family weight and accessible. It's very kind of pandemic where you have 4 action points. You can use them to move or to pick up items and stuff. It's very easy to understand, but it's a fun little intriguing puzzle. So and a game that you can lose at. So
yeah,
it does
a
a
lot.
good job of accessibility and challenge level, but keeps it keeps it kind of nice
Yeah.
to play in time.
It's just good.
And it like looks. I think this and the original Horrified looks so.
I think they look
beautiful.
very cool. The way
The
they
art
do
in
it,
this one and stuff is so good.
indeed. Mike, you played a bad game.
Nick Brass Birmingham, I'm quite enjoying. I'm liking it a lot.
Boo.
I played this quite late on the final day of Dice Tower West. I think
sure
we
did.
started at like 11 and finished at like 2. Brass Birmingham is a super solid game that I quite like. And I'm curious, I really think that you'll enjoy it
I'll enjoy
more.
it more, I think. Yeah.
But one thing that's kind of wild, so I played this for the first time way back when, and it was, I didn't, I guess, understand like how you can do well at this game. And I'm not good at the game now either, but like I understand it more. So when I first played the game, it was very overwhelming. And then I got the app when it came out and then I kind of relearned it. And then also I was relearning it. Then when I played it here, I was like, oh, this game is not as difficult like mechanically as I thought. It's very kind of straightforward and simple. You play these cards out, and the card will either show like a production building, which means you can only produce, you can build that kind of production building if you're doing a build action. But it has to be somewhere where you've already established something, or you can play a city and you can basically drop into that city and start to build out from there. And so every turn you're discarding a card to do an action, and then you're doing that twice to be fair, and spending your money to build out a network of railways, to build up production buildings, to kind of take stuff off your player board. But it's all like play a card and do a thing.
Yeah.
And it's not that crazy, but
No.
it all becomes of like, I'm going to build this track over here because you built a bunch of stuff in this city and you're flipping over your tile. So if my track is here, I'm going to basically profit off of that. The whole game is about profiting off of other people's accomplishments and trying to do stuff that they're going to use. So it flips over your tile. So you get to kind of profit. It's just trying to bet on what other people are going to do and sort of make money and things off of that. But it's one I really enjoyed. I was like, I do see why this is such a popular game.
Yeah,
and I quite
get
like
it.
it a lot.
Yeah, I need to try it again.
I think you're gonna.
I think it was on
appreciate
my games I need to try again list.
It was.
Like,
So I think
it's
you're
like,
gonna appreciate it. I think it's gonna be a game that you're gonna be like, this is a really good game. I don't love it. I think it's fine.
yeah, it's like this
I
is a
don't think
game
you're
I
gonna
get why
hate
other
it.
people like.
I don't think you're gonna hate it.
I don't think I'm gonna hate it.
I really enjoy it.
We played Cascadia. We played this with our brother and sister.
Trash.
Cascadia's trash.
No, I'm just kidding. I like it.
Cascadia is
So
great.
good.
As we say, it's one of the most playable games ever. It's so easy to get to the table.
Yeah.
It's just great. Best solo art. It's incredible. But basically, you're going to have 4 habitat tiles you can choose from, which are also going to be paired up with 4 random animals. And you essentially, all the habitat tiles can have an animal on it, between like elk and hawks and fish, bears and foxes. Essentially, you take a tile and that paired animal, and you have to place that tile adjacent to something else in there, and you have to place that animal on one of your tiles. And all the animals score differently. The bears might all want to be separated. The fish all want to be in a line. All these different kinds of stuff, and it's just so good. It works so well. We've talked about it a billion times, and we're gonna pick up the pace.
It's so good.
It's so good.
Cascade is fantastic.
It's so good.
Played some chai with our siblings.
This is the sibling block right here.
We play chai often with our sister. It's a fantastic game where you're just you're making orders of tea for people.
It's great.
Very simple. Very easy.
It's very much a
into.
gateway game. Yeah.
Very much a gateway game with a super production behind it, which is very cool. So we enjoy busting this one out. We don't play it too often.
No, not
but we'll
too
play it with our siblings and stuff.
But it's a game
colorful, beautiful pieces.
This is what you wanted a gateway game. It's easy, it's accessible, it's got a fun theme, and then it's so gorgeous and well produced that people are gonna go like, whoa, I didn't know board games could be like this.
Yeah,
that's what chai does.
It's a nice like little way to bait people into trying.
You're like, you want to
board
play
games.
the old Castle Burgundy and be very brown?
Like, I'm good. I'll play chai instead. But it's simple contract fulfillment.
Yeah,
you know,
contract
it's good stuff. Clans of Caledonia is great, Nick.
We played this. This game is gonna make a push for my top 15. I think when we do our top 100 at the end of the year.
I think
I really think so. Like, I love Clans of Caledonia. We're gonna have a game house for this coming out soon as well.
Yep.
This is a game where you are a Scottish clan, and this is ultimately an economic game where you have different things you can put out. You can put out like cows and sheep and wheat fields and stuff, but you can also put out like cheese factories. And so at the end of every round, everything that's on the main board, you're gonna produce. So each sheep will give you a wool, each cow will give you a milk. But then when you have a milk, if you have a cheese factory, you can turn one of your milk into cheese. You can turn your wheat into bread or into whiskey, and you're essentially fulfilling contracts. You can also go to the market and just buy those things straight up or sell them.
Stuff,
And it's just, it ultimately is kind of like just a straight up economic game with this kind
Because
of
it's all about stretching that dollar as far as you can.
trying to put stuff out. When you put stuff out, you have to pay the cost of the unit, but you also have to pay the land cost. Certain spots are more expensive than other ones. It just works so well. And every time I play it, I'm like, this is one of my favorite games of all time. It's so darn
It's
good.
a game that I think you can kind of keep getting better at.
Yes.
Because you learn from previous plays. Clans of Caledonia is like just genius.
It's outstanding.
It's such a good
so
game.
outstanding. We played Villainous.
We played the
Played
new,
one
the bigger and badder, whatever.
Bigger and better, yeah.
Yeah. So it has Syndrome, Madam Mim, and Lotso Huggenbear.
We played Lotso and
Madam Mim. Madam Mim's like dueling.
Oh yeah, we didn't play Syndrome. That's right. Yeah.
Merlin and stuff. So you're trying to change forms and fight Merlin, and Lotso's trying to like do a bunch of mean stuff to toys. Yeah, so if you like Villainous, you'll I think these new characters. I think they're really fun.
Yeah, fun.
You know, Villainous is always a game that we enjoy. It's never our favorite game and stuff, but I always still do enjoy seeing like, what do they do with this new character?
I'm interested.
I love the art so much in the game.
I'm interested
and I like
every single time they come out with a new
how they function. And so if you like Villainous, I think this will be another good entry. Cool characters and stuff. I'm excited to see as they move forward. Now that they're getting into like Pixar and stuff, I'm like, okay, like let's go. So if you're a fan of Villainous, you'll like the new expansion.
Yep, that's pretty much what it is. Yeah,
that's Villainous.
I don't think we played Draftosaurus.
Play a little Draftysaurus.
It's great.
Fantastic game. Drafting little dino meeples that are adorable. It's a game that you can
put them in a little park
and play. There's two sides of the park that are different. You can teach and play both sides of the park. 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's great.
Fantastic.
All the different parts of the park want different things. These ones want all the same dinos. These want all different dinos. This one with like a pair of dinos, a little couples pen. And you roll out a die, and that dictates where in your board you can put stuff. And you're just drafting dinos and putting it down. It's so easy, and it's just so fun. As a filler, it's one of the best. It's absolutely one of the best.
It's adorable. Love that game so much.
Yeah, Draftosaurus is outstanding. We played Ginkgo Polis.
Ginkgo Polis.
Game House for this coming out. Everyone's saying, there's so much Game House content. We're trying to really push it. So
we have literally a bunch of stuff queued up, ready to go. Every Monday, you can check out a new episode of the Game House.
Indeed. Every Monday.
Tigers come out this Monday. So Ginkopolis is an episode we have coming up. This game, oh man,
it's so good.
I'm so curious when we do at the end of this year. We're doing our top 100 games of all time.
You think it's gonna be in the review?
It's gonna be up there.
Yeah,
it's
really.
It's gonna be up there, man.
You like it that much, huh?
It's just like it blows my mind, and I don't have like a better way to talk about it. Where like people have always talked about like elegant games, Splendor's elegant, and I'm like, what does that mean? It's horse manure. And then I played this, and I'm like, that's what that is for me. I'm like, man, it does so much stuff with so little. It's a card drafting game. It's an area control game. It's a construction game. It's an engine building game. With like
where you can do the
fewest moving pieces ever. You can do 3 things. You can basically play a card just to get like a little bit of things. You can play a card to spread the city out and build out, or you can build up and do the construct action. There's only 3 actions. There's only 3 things. There are resources, there are points, and there are more tiles to play out.
Yeah.
And like with that, you can do so much because you can, when you construct, you get to like collect these cards that have been in circulation drafting around. You collect those cards and now they become a part of your little engine where every time I do the construct action, I get all of these bonuses. I'll get 2 resources and a point every time I do the construct action forevermore. Or as you get these higher level cards, they start to open up end game scoring stuff for you. And then you have the area control where you basically want to have the most of your resources in each district. And if you have the most resources in each district, you get the kind of biggest possible point bonus at the end of the game. So it does so many things, but everything comes down to like points, resources, tiles. 3 types of actions, that's it. And I'm like, they create such an engaging, intriguing game with like just so few things.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that is genius.
You can't do much, yeah.
It's amazing. I just can't get over how they made such a good game, because you always think like you need to have more stuff. And you're like, no. This was way smarter, harder design.
We were talking to Richard. We did a stream with Richard Garfield recently. Jealous. And we were talking about that, how like it's very difficult to make a simple game that's good.
So Ginkopolis like seems like a great example of like less is more, and it probably was a harder design to do it, but I'm like, it's just so beautifully smooth as a result.
Yeah. What's up, Teej League? You got a shout out earlier. Thank you for being a patron. We appreciate you. Check out the Patreon today, everything. Ooh, I played Grand Hostria Hotel.
You
I played this
did.
late at night at Dice Tower West. Got to
Good time to
introduce.
play it.
Yeah, it was good. Got to introduce Slackfish to it because Slackfish really wanted to play. I think on Slackfish's list, it said like Playground Hotel with the Brothers Murphy. And so like, hey, we got
I
it.
love it.
Again, this is one of those games that like this game is you have a hotel and you're trying to get guests to come to your cafe and you're going to feed them and give them the drinks that they want. If you satisfy their needs in terms of their hunger and their thirst, they will then stay in your hotel, which is exactly how it goes. Every time I go to a Taco Bell, I'm like, look, I'll stay here if you give me
Listen,
what
can
I
I
want.
live here? What's the rate?
Can you give me a bean burrito with no onions, please? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, I'm sleeping there.
No, but they're like, no, we probably can't.
That's fair.
We'll mess it up most of the time.
It's Taco Bell. It'll be.
There's 3 ingredients. I'm asking you to leave one out, and you'll be surprised at how many times they're like, oh, we put the onions in there, didn't we? I'm like,
Yeah, the amount of
blew
times.
it.
But nonetheless, this is a game where it's like it's so brutal because the actions you're doing are dictated by the dice that get rolled. And if there's like 5 5s, when you take a 5 die, you get to do essentially a 5 strength 5 action, basically what it is. And so you kind of want to go for the stuff that has a lot of dice because the action is so much stronger.
Yeah.
But you're like, I didn't need 5s, I needed 1s because I need to get a bunch of cake.
Trying to get a
and
bunch of cake
because
going.
all these people want cake and I can't get cake now. And so it's very, very brutal. It's a brutal game, but it's so much fun. Every time I play it, I'm like, this game makes me want to pull my hair out. And I love every second of it. It's just, it works so well.
It's beautifully
I love
brutal.
it. Oh, man.
Yeah, Grand Hospital is fantastic.
Oh,
Oh,
I guess-
here's Merv.
Okay, so maybe I did give you my stuff. I don't know. Murph,
No, I think it's because we
Ian, look,
we
how did
also
you draw
played
this?
it. Look at this.
Oh, we
Ian
did
O'Toole,
also
ladies
play
and
it.
gentlemen.
Ian O'Toole, everybody. Check this out. Ian O'Toole, you're great.
Flipping ridiculous.
Look at this. Look at this.
We know we love Merv. We talked about
That's
it.
the best cover.
I hadn't played it in quite a while, and when we played it, Nick had played it recently because he talked about playing Dice Tower West, and I was a bit of beneficiary of an ass whooping.
Of hooping. I
got destroyed.
I screamed up the mosque track and
And
just never looked back.
And I didn't do anything good. So that was that.
Boom.
Bam, Merv, beautiful cover. Look at that.
So,
thing.
look at it. It's so good.
Crazy good looking.
Oh, we played the Quacks of Quedlinburg.
We did.
I played this with Ruel Michelle.
Indeed.
Ruel and Michelle Gaviola, lovely people. Check them out on twitch.tv/Ruel Gaviola. So good. They were up near us where we live. They're about like
good
an
little
hour and a
game
half
night.
away from us. And so we all hung out and we were waiting for Mike to get this. We played a quick game of Quacks. I taught them Quacks. And again, it had been a minute since I had played some Quacks. It had been a little while. And I was reminded like, oh yeah, that's right. This game is so much fun.
It's
This is
so
a game
fun.
where you have a big old cauldron and you're throwing ingredients in by pulling these chips out of this bag, and it's a push your luck game because there are these white chips. And you pull too many of the white chips, your cauldron explodes and you have to stop. So you're basically trying to like, oh, do I think,
I'm
what
not
is
gonna
in
pull
here?
that chip
I'm not
again.
gonna pull it. I'm
Nah,
not gonna
I'll be
pull it.
fine.
And you kind of just keep
not gonna be
going.
fine.
And it's so much fun. I love Quacks of Quedlinburg so much. Yeah, it was so fun to teach them because they hadn't played it. And so it was really fun to introduce someone to that game because that game almost always goes over well with new people. And I thought it was, I was reminded like, oh yeah, that's right. This game is great.
This game is fire.
We played the quest for El Dorado.
For El Dorado.
This game's also great.
We love this game. We do not have the one with this cool cover.
I know.
but
I'll be fair, I like the art in the other one. But
do
this
too.
is, do trade art. What are you going to do, right?
I love the art, and the other one's great.
Hey, thank you for that super chat, Jim. Love your
appreciate
content. Keep up great
that.
work. Thank you so
Thank
much
you
for that
so
super
much
chat. We
for
really
that.
appreciate
Thank you. Quest for El Dorado is a fantastic deck building racing game where you are trying to get to El Dorado. On a 2-player game, you're trying to get both of your explorers to El Dorado.
Yep.
And you're doing this via deck building. So you're going to be deck building these cards that
dropping
might
through
have
a jungle.
machetes, they might have paddles or money on them. Money will help you buy more cards, but money will also help you move through markets and stuff. Because every space you want to enter, it's going to show you machetes or paddles or money, or you have to discard a random card or whatever. And so you need to play a card with a machete of the value to move on to it. So you need a 1 machete for a 1 machete. So you're trying to, you can kind of see the whole path and be like, okay, there's this one area where I need like 2 and 3 level coin stuff. So I need to get some more valuable coin cards to spend. So you're deck building specifically to be able to navigate the terrain that you're going to pass through, which is like a nice way to, I think, to, you know, if you play like a pure deck builder, it's kind of like, well, what cards are good to go with each other? That's a hard question to answer. With this one, it's just like, oh, I see a bunch of jungle. I'm going to need a lot of machetes. Let me buy a lot of machete cards. So
Yeah.
it's very sensible.
It's very
Which is why we always like to
it's very
introduce
intuitive
it.
for new people because they're like,
If you're
look
new
at
to
what's
deck
in front of
building,
you. Get stuff that's going to help
make
you
sure
with
you can, you have a better chance of drawing cards that are going to help you move through those
And
things.
even then, it's like, say there's a big jungle section and then a big market section. It's like, but then there's still going to be jungle. So it's not like those cards that you get
like,
now
yeah,
are going to be like
useless.
worthless later. It's like, no, you're still going to be able to use them. It's so good. It's one of the best intro to deck builders. It's outstanding.
Absolutely great.
We played So Clover,
So
one of our
Clover.
favorite party games of all time.
Such a good game. It's a fantastic game where you're going to assemble a clover with different clues around it, and every side of the clover will have 2 different words next to each other. These words are very unlikely to be related to each other in any way.
Computer and ficus.
Okay, computer and ficus. So you'll go like, you have to basically make a
Make a
word
clue that works for
that's
those
going to hopefully
two.
point to both of those words. Because once you come up with your 4 clues, you have to take those cards off of your clover, shuffle in a random 5th one, and then people have to look at these 5 cards now and see, can they reassemble and put the right cards in the right spaces of the clover to recreate what you had. And it's one that's kind of brilliant because you can put it together correctly.
Work it out.
You can really figure out like, okay, this was, this was this was that. They were going for this over here. It's just a really fun kind of party clue guessing game.
Yeah,
really
it's
like that one.
really, really good. It's outstanding.
Yeah.
Played Strike.
Yes.
Can have a very quick game house about this coming out. Love Strike.
Strike
Strike is so much fun. This is a gladiatorial game where you're throwing dice in this little arena and you're trying to keep all the dice. If you roll it in the arena, if after you roll it, there's any matches, like 2 3s, you then get to take the 3s and then it goes to the next person. But if you don't roll any matches, you just have to keep throwing dice in there, or you can pass
You
as
can
well.
choose to stop if you want, but
But
still push
if
your
ever
luck.
a big X comes up, that is a death, and that dice just goes away. So it's kind of that push.
They
You're like,
hate it.
oh gosh, can I do it? Can I do it? And it's just, it works so well. It's
so
silly,
silly.
it's quick, it's fun, it's incredible.
Yeah, love that game. Love that Strike.
You played a bad game.
I played a game of Tapestry. My game group here likes to play Tapestry, so we play on
do.
BGA a lot and stuff. Played another game. It's a game I finally put together my best game ever. I got
There you go.
I got like 293 points.
Ooh.
I super lost still, but I did put together a game. I'm like, that's sort of finally a thing. I filled up my city. I was like, oh, I did it. I never do that well. I like Tapestry a lot. It's fun. It's definitely not perfect, but I don't care. I enjoy it.
Yeah,
I always enjoy it when I play. It's very
You
fun.
love it. You like it. You like it. That's great.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
I can see its faults. You
I
got to
don't
house
like
rule
it,
some
but-
stuff, but it's a good game.
Yeah, it's fine. We played 10. We played a quick
Yes.
game of this with like Paula and Shay. It was really, really fun. This is a game, kind of a set collection line game where you're drawing out cards.
Press
Also
your
a little
luck.
press your luck game.
Yep.
You're drawing out cards, and then you are hoping to not. Is it when you get to 10 or when you get to 11?
You bust when you get to 11. You
Okay,
can
that's
get
right. I
to
can never remember. So bust, if you can remember cards, you bring out a 7. So then you're like, okay, if a 3 comes out, I'll be okay. But if a 4 comes out, then I bust. And so you don't want to bust. But then there's also these currency cards which subtract from that amount. And so it's this kind of push you like, oh, what can I get? What can I get? And you're essentially grabbing those cards, and then you're trying to make sets of, there's like green, orange, purple, no, green, orange, and pink. And you're essentially, and blue. And you're trying to get a run of like 1 through 9, which would be the best. So you're trying to collect cards to get these sets. You're going to score your biggest continuous group of numbers in each color once. And it just works really, really well. I really love the bright look of it. I just think it works very, very well.
It's a great
I
game.
love 10. I think it's a great push your luck game that Cash Liam hates in the chat. But nonetheless, I really like 10 a lot. And hi, Rosie, our sister's in chat.
Hello.
Played a little Ares. You played Ares
I
Expedition.
played it just the other day, but I played it against Karen. Karen finally beat me at Ares Expedition.
She was very happy.
I had a
She
good
told me all
winning
about
streak
it.
going at it, man. This game is awesome. I love it. I love the action selection it borrows from Race for the Galaxy, which is just a great way to, I don't know. I'm like, I want more
works.
games to have that because it's always fun to be like, I'm going to make sure that we get to do this type of action this turn, but since I selected, I get a better version. of it.
Right.
Ha ha ha.
Ha!
And you are doing terraforming Mars stuff. You are building up and terraforming the planet as usual. But I just like that in this round, there's no production. We're going to research and then do a development card. And then the next round, both of us go to produce because we're all out of money. And I just like that it's kind of variable if and when things happen in the game. And it builds up nicely. It gives you all of that kind of feel of Terraforming Mars, but in a much quicker time. Really enjoy Ares Expedition. Every time I play it, I'm just like,
It's
this
great.
is great. And I almost always am just like, I would just rather play this version.
Yeah, the turn one for
moving forward.
Absolutely, for me.
Yeah, really like it.
We played a bit of
On the
Wavelength with this with a big group of people, including the wonderful Liz.
Yes.
Wavelength is great. It's a great party game where essentially you're on teams, like 2 teams, and if I'm like the active player on my team, I will get some kind of barometer, like hot and cold.
Some sort
kind of
two...
Hey, Teach, thank you so much. You guys made this only child. Wish she had brothers. Kindness rules. Well, you
Teach,
are
thank you so
part
much
of
for
our
that.
family. Thank you so much, Teach. Wow, thank
you
you so much for that super chat. Drop some dangs in chat for Teach. Thank you so much.
Teach
really
on the
appreciate it.
wavelength with us now.
On the wavelength.
So yeah,
So
you're gonna
essentially
have
you
two kind of like
two kind of
polar
parameters. So like,
opposites.
yeah, like hot and cold, expensive, cheap, and then essentially you then have this big wheel that you spin around, and it shows you a number from 1 to 14.
Basically, it shows you. I think so. Yeah. So it basically show you like you're over here. You're very much on the hot.
Yeah.
side.
So let's say so it's a 1. It's
Or you're
hot
like
to
3
cold.
quarters of the way on the hot
So
side.
you're like, okay, so I need to give a clue that's going to point people to this spot on this in this barometer. And so like it's very fun because the game hovers around like in what world we live in. Because I had the greatest clue ever, and I got shamed for it a bunch. But I had
it was a
high,
value,
high quality, low quality, or something
Yeah.
like that. High value, low value, something like that.
Yeah, high value, low
And
value.
I said Pyrex because it was all the way to the end. Because in my mind, Pyrex is incredibly high quality Tupperware. It's not high quality if you're talking about like a supercar.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, those are
But
different.
in his
But
whole thing of
within
people like,
the
no,
realm
Rolex is high quality.
of food
It's like,
storage, Pyrex is here. And so they guessed way lower because they're like, well, it's not like a Lambo. And I'm like, and I'm not talking, well, of course it's not a Lambo. Like,
yeah,
if,
you're talking about like within the realm that it exists.
within the
it's
realm
like
that
the
exists,
highest
but I love because
possible.
so much of the game is like, well, what are they talking about? Like it's one of the things like someone, I remember one time we were playing this and it was like quiet to loud. And they said like Friday night at a convention. And the whole discussion became about, well, yeah, that's not as loud as like a nuclear bomb going off.
Yeah, but loud.
But that's
compared
loud
to
within the
what?
confines of a convention. And so like it works really well.
Yeah,
It's very, very
it
fun.
really gets you thinking.
Love Wavelength. It's incredible.
Oh man, Jordan out here bringing up
Crazy.
Bruce. 93 watching, only 37 thumbs.
Wow.
Come on, folks. Everyone,
Wow,
let's get a
folks.
thumb up
Get
on this
those
real quick. It
thumbs,
really
get
helps us
here.
out.
Or
Thumb it
down. We'll
up.
take down. We'll take
Doesn't
any kind of
matter. Hey,
engagement.
It's all engagement, baby.
Indeed.
Wingspan. Great
Yes,
game.
indeed.
Birds. Birds lay eggs.
Birds beats Battlestar Galactica.
There you go.
Indeed.
We love Wingspan. It's fantastic. Tableau
really good.
building, engine building goodness. With just four actions.
Yeah.
You can play a burb. You can
build nuts
get some
engines.
burb food. You can get some burb eggs.
We have
You can
the
get some burb cards.
European Birds expansion and the Oceania Birds expansion. I like playing with
All
everything
mixed
because then you
in.
just get to build these
All mixed in.
wild combos because there's just so many
Here's the
different
thing:
cards.
we're always going to play with everything because there's no way I'm going to separate the cards out again.
No way, God,
So
no.
it's
You have to
all
find
in
the
forevermore.
little thingy.
But
Yeah.
it also is easily incorporated. So yeah,
It's
we're
so
all
good.
in on Wingspan. Love it.
It's so good.
Love it.
Played Zapotec.
We did.
Zapotec is we actually have a very interesting game house.
We have a
about this
Game House video that came out on April 1st, so you know it's going to be a little bit
It's
different.
a little weird. It was very fun to film.
We had the grand opportunity of playing this game forward and then replaying the exact same game backward.
Yeah.
And it's just as fun both ways.
It's really fun. This is by Board and Dice. This is kind of like in the same realm of like their big T games, like Teotihuacan or any
Similar
of those kinds of games.
theming and stuff you're doing, but it's just much more
But
streamlined
it's
and
like
quick.
45 minutes.
Yeah.
And so it kind of has that feel of those big games, but not nearly as long. And it's really, really fun. Like I really like Zapotec a lot. One of the main reasons is because it's just so much shorter. It's got a similar feel, a lot of things that I really, really like in these kinds of games, but just shortened down. And I really like it. I think it works well. And I enjoy it. I enjoy it.
Absolutely. Zapotec rips. Horde.
Indeed.
And that's it.
That is it. Real quick, Mikey,
everything
I have
we
a couple more
play.
I'm going to talk about. Just
Sorry, we had like 48, 9, 10,
I know,
50
we
games.
Talk about Liz. I played Cacao with Liz. I taught Cacao to
Walker
Liz and Jason Levine. Jason won per usual. Every once in a while, I'm going to beat him. I never beat
No,
him.
you won't.
But nonetheless, Phil Harding plays beat. Cacao is really, really outstanding. It's a
Fantastic.
great
Fantastic
tile laying game. Very, very cool. I also played a Wild Space at
that's
Dice Tower West. And
right. I
Wild
wanna play
Space
that again, man.
is really, really cool. It's a game by Pandasaurus Games, but it's a very quick and just limited in terms of you only get 10 turns in the entire game. You're essentially trying to put out crew members, and those crew members will a lot of times allow you to chain a bunch of stuff. So this crew member allows you to put out this kind of a crew member, and that crew member might allow you to do this, and that one might allow you to do this. You're trying to chain it out, and then all the crew members are one kind of animals. There's like owls and bears and squids and stuff, and they all have like a job. There's like a gunner, there's like a pilot, there's like a scientist, there's all kind of stuff, and then there's these emissary cards which will have scoring on them. So it's like every set of pilot and owl you have in there. So you count up all your pirates, count up all your owls, and it'll give you a certain amount of points. And it just works really well. But in the whole game, you have 10 turns, and that's it. And so in the beginning of the game, it feels like, how are you going to do anything in this game? You have so few turns, and you end up being able to put out so much stuff, and it just really, really works. I really love Wild Space. I think that's it. That's like 50 games at this point.
50 odd games. Boom. We played a lot of stuff.
Thank you so much. So now is the end here.
Scroll back through our chat here. If anyone has questions, please ask.
We're going to do a little Q&A. We are live, so we're going to do a little Q&A. If anyone has any questions, please put it in the chat and let us know.
Tool says, still need to try this. Speaking of Zapotec, Fabio is a really clever designer. Also made Merv, Kalamala. Fabio does great stuff with like action selection things.
Yes,
great mind for interesting ways to activate stuff. So
Mr. Imp asked, what is your favorite of the Garfield games collection? For me, it's still probably Artichokes, although I think Wayfarers is going to be my top one.
Here's the thing, Wayfarers has the thing of being top of mind at the moment because we just played this. It's absolutely fantastic. If you like Garfield games, you're gonna like that one. I'm always from the West Kingdom. Oh man, but then Raiders of the North Sea. My favorite is probably, Paladins. I'm really curious to see where Wayfarers ends up landing. Wayfarers, I'm so excited to like dig and find more little combos. I feel like maybe out of everything, Wayfarers will be the deepest, most infinitely explorable game that they've done so far, because like just the townsfolk cards and the way you can like get different vistas and things seems endless. And so I'm really excited to explore that further. So yeah, it's a tough question.
Jada Hastings, this was a while ago. Hopefully you're still here. It's a question for later. I am trying to start collecting. Where are the best places to find / buy board games? I would say a board game store where you can add a friendly local game store. Hopefully it's friendly. If you're looking for just a good place, honestly, if you live anywhere near Barnes and Noble, because they tend to have like medium weight games there, but they have a good selection.
Mix.
And so I would say start there, and also just go on to like and ask suggestions either here or somewhere else. I'm sure people will
like what are great games. We did a list top 10 games to start your collection.
We did.
We can look at things like that.
Indeed.
But I agree. Barnes and Noble is a great place to go to begin. Because you can find a bunch of kind of entry level stuff and what we call like next step games, where it's like, okay, I've done some of these. What's like a little bit more complexity, but not heavy yet?
Yeah, it's pretty good. How do you decide which games are outward facing and which get the side on showing the side showing on the shelves? The ones that are outward facing, it's a mix of whatever ones we feel like being outward facing. And then during our Kickstarter, people were able to essentially adopt a shelf. That's why you see these little plaques there. That's someone's name.
So like this person right here selected Eclipse. So that's a visual representation of their shelf.
So they got to choose a game that was on their shelf, and we tried to, wherever we could, put their game face out. So that is the general general thing. Okay, I think that was all the old ones.
Okay, Teach says, who is the older brother? Does anybody know? I'm the eldest Murph of them all.
3 years.
I don't know if I necessarily act like it, but that's me. That's this guy. For better or worse.
We'll be going to Aircon, hopefully. It's kind of up in the air right now. The only problem is it is the same week as Dice Tower West, which is not great.
Yeah, so next year we're going to have to make a heartbreaking decision one way or another, because we literally can't be at both. Literally. Because it's not like, oh, you can go one right to the other. It's like, no, they're at the same time. So I'm thinking it's going to be Aircon. But I also will have a like 8-month, 9-month-old. So 10-month-old. So
it's very up there.
We'll see.
Hopefully,
I would love to go to Aircon. The short answer is I would love to go to Aircon.
Love to go, but I'm not going to say yes or no because we don't know.
Cash Liam says, did you retweet Mandy Patinkin trying to learn Wingspan? That was hilarious. I didn't retweet it, but I loved it so much. It was adorable.
He was trying to learn Wingspan?
Yes, and they were like cracking up because it was, I think it was one of those things where I think they're like, this game is crazy. There's all sorts of things, It's like if you drop a Wingspan, which we're like, it's a great kind of like entry level game. It's like, it's so far beyond. If you haven't played board, it's such a giant leap.
You really need
they're cracking up over it and stuff, and it was a beautiful video. But I was like,
you really need someone to hold your hand if you're trying to play Wingspan. What's your favorite genre / mechanism at the moment? My favorite mechanism is probably still worker placement. Although I will say, I am not as enamored with it as I used to be. That being said, it's still my favorite mechanic. But like, yeah, I think there's just a lot of worker placement games out there. And honestly, I've kind of evened out in terms of like, I like most mechanics pretty equally at this point.
I'm always going to like something where you can tile place and tableau build, and those things typically go together.
Yeah.
I like building a little, I like to see something that I built in front of me.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would still probably say worker placement.
But anything can be great.
But the genre that I'm generally into right now is cooperative deduction. I'm really enjoying cooperative deduction games a lot. So that's not my favorite mechanic of all time, but in terms of like what am I into right now, I'm into cooperative deduction.
Yeah.
So what Kickstarter games are you excited to receive in the future? I'm in for Steam Up and don't go in there.
We have
Darwin's Journey coming.
We have Darwin's Journey and Carnegie in the queue to arrive. Carnegie's coming probably in May, maybe June. Darwin's Journey, I'm not sure. So those are the two that we have in the queue, and we're excited for that. We're mostly excited to get our Unmatched set to y'all. That's what we're most excited for.
That's what we're trying to do. And we backed a couple smaller things, a couple other smaller things. We haven't really backed anything like big. I'm interested in like that game Encyclopedia that's out right now.
Yeah, that's right.
We just played the new Tidal Blades, which was really, really fun.
Tidal Blades 2
Stone mentioned
awesome.
that Last Light, which is Roy Kennedy's game, just funded. Yeah, I think that game's going to do quite well. Wayfarers of the South Tigris, which is going to be on Kickstarter. That is incredible. Yeah, a bunch of different stuff. But we're not huge Kickstarter people or GameFound people. But I'm interested in this new Castles of Burgundy because I'm just curious of what the heck it's going to be. Like,
it's massive
Castles of Burgundy mixed with the people who made Tainted Grail. I'm like,
those don't seem to go together at all.
I'm curious of what that's going to look like. And so I'm interested in that.
Yeah, I want to find out more for sure. Tim says in the UK, Zatu Games in Norwich have a great...
heard that.
Zatu is like a legendary.
I've heard that before.
Apparently, it's like that's where you can get the stuff, and they do deliver in things.
Yeah,
Zatu, always check that.
If there's any other questions, let us know, fam. And otherwise, we will head on out of here. But this was super, super cool.
Yeah.
We enjoy doing this. We enjoy doing them live. It's cool.
Of course we do.
Can you do another one of your underrated lists? Thanks to you, I found some gems on the cheap. We probably will at some point here. We did two
we've done it
kind
twice
of close together.
That's one we could probably do on a yearly-ish basis.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially if we have new, we don't want to repeat too much.
No,
because we want to hopefully find gems for people. But yeah, it's something we can definitely.
Well, and also one thing we want to kind of do is, if it's not necessarily a list, we kind of want to do like a. So something like Game House, like the Game House episodes we do, we always want to play like kind of like unheard of games. The problem is if they're unheard of or people don't know them very well, people don't click on that video. So we kind of want to do like a series of Game House videos, not necessarily like all in a row, but just like every once in a while drop one and kind of like
from
market
our underrated list.
Yeah, kind of like market it as this is like an uncovered gem or an underrated game, hopefully to get people to click on it because Game Houses are a lot of work. So when we put like a ton of effort into it and then it gets like 700-800 views, it's kind of like it's hard to justify that, and so we kind of want to showcase it in that way.
Reframe it a little.
We're trying to figure out a way to market it so it gets more people to click on it, but we do want to do more stuff. We kind of talk about doing kind of like a small talk, which is like a show that Thinker Themer does, where it's kind of more casual chatting show. We want to do something like that sometime in the future, especially once we finish the set that's going to be over there. We want to do that, and we're kind of thinking about like maybe working some kind of underrated list into that one each time where it's like, here's our favorite underrated game of this month or whatever. So we want to do that more. We'll probably also just do top 10s of it sometimes. So we just don't want to do it too
Northwest Passage is underrated. See, I haven't heard of that one. I gotta check that one out.
Ian, never heard of it.
Andres says, is there a game where at first impression you disliked it but changed your opinion after playing it? For me, that'd be like a Brass Birmingham. First time I played it, I hated it. I was just like, didn't know what was going on. I got rocked. Everyone took my beer. I was bummed out. And then I played it again years later. I was like, oh, okay, now I get it. I still like lose, but I'm like, oh, cool. Like, awesome. So that was one of the bigger instances of like first play to second being like, ooh, when the first one was like, oh. So
yeah, I'm trying to think of a situation where like, because like I really disliked this game right here, Origins First Builders, but we played it digitally when we first played it, and I knew I was like, I dislike this
You
game
had a
because I'm playing it
sense.
digitally. I know that. I don't like playing big games for the first time digitally. So I was like, like Carnegie. I hated Carnegie. To be fair, I still hate Carnegie because I haven't played it physically yet. I'm pretty sure I'm going to like it physically, but I hated it digitally.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think of a game that I played physically that I didn't really like. Then I played it again and liked it more. I'm not entirely sure off the top of my head. I have to think about that one a little more.
Yeah.
Speaking of the new title blades, are there any other adventure/narrative style games that you guys really like? Destiny, Sleeping Gods. We liked Near and Far. We're going to be playing Destiny soon.
Yeah, we have it. We have it. It's just down there.
They're not my favorite kind of game, I will say.
Would you say like a Gloomhaven? Like, would that count?
I would say that would count. Gloomhaven's probably my favorite.
Play through all that.
Because I don't play games for the stories. I play games for the mechanics for the most part. And so
I really enjoy like Journeys in Middle Earth.
Journeys in Middle Earth is great, yeah. I do. So
Lord of the
but
Rings
it's not
stuff.
my favorite kind of genre personally. Yeah, I feel like I missed one.
Jada, thanks for coming down. So say it's been stressful for me and this stream made it a lot better. You guys were channeling broad my love for board games. A subscriber for life. Hey, shouts
Thank
out. All love to y'all. We really appreciate all of you giving time. We know it's during the day and probably you're working. Hopefully this is helping distract you from whatever
Hopefully, right?
stuff of life just for a little bit while we just chat and talk games because
Yeah.
come on now, chatting games. So good.
So Payan, I'm sorry, I'm not entirely sure. Pardon my mispronunciation if I got it wrong. I said also, I don't know if this is a viable idea for a video, but I would love to see a list of games you could play on the go, literally like while on an evening stroll with friends or in a car/airplane. I do want to make a top 10 airplane games because Mike and I have a whole system when we go flying because we travel a lot for work.
We do.
And we have games. We played viticulture on a plane before. So I do want to make a top 10 games to play on an airplane. I think that list would do okay, and I think it'd be a fun list.
Travel, yeah.
Especially if we're like, it's not just roll and rights. Because
Yeah.
the answer is roll and rights.
The answer is rolling rights. And you can play Palm Island. We did that all while on a walk.
Palm
'cause you
Island is
hold
a great
the whole
one you can
game in
walk,
your
yeah.
hand. So
That's
that's the short answer. Unwrapping Return to Dark Tower currently.
Ooh,
Rip.
what
That's
fun.
awesome. Very cool.
Indeed.
Robert played first Empires by Sandcastle. Didn't like it much, but now have 9 plays and love it.
There you
yeah,
go, right?
sometimes you just need a second play. Sometimes that first play is going to be a little tough because you have to kind of like make mistakes or learn the hard way through
Right.
stuff. But then that second play can be so great.
Yeah.
So,
When it's train con, I'm not sure. We want to have a convention that's on a train.
Yes.
I don't know.
We are actively working on, by the way, on Bing Bong Con, and I've got inquiries
Our
out to
convention.
locations now.
It's going to be in mid-January, it looks like. So
yeah,
if you
that's
want to
what
go to
we're
Bing Bong
hoping for.
Con, it's going to be in LA mid-January. We are actively talking to hotels right now to figure out
Yeah, it's gonna be just a little tiny thing to start. We want to build it up and grow it from
Small.
there. So
10,000
super cool.
con, 10,000 person con. Starting off easy, you know.
yeah, really easy,
Yeah,
right?
so if we want to do one on a train where you kind of pick people up and stop and so it's a
love
whole.
that
We have a
idea.
whole idea.
Yeah.
Um,
And we actually have a contact now.
we do
Hopefully.
actually. We know someone who works at Amtrak, which is fun.
Yeah.
Um,
So stay tuned for both of those things.
indeed.
But 2023 is the short answer.
Yeah, so we're planning to do a train con.
Yeah, I want to do a train con. We want to go do a train con to Chicago, be like a couple day thing, and then do some events in Chicago, then maybe train back.
Yeah.
You know,
So-
because we'd bring games and stuff. I think I think it'd be so tight.
Okay, so I was going to ask about a LA con hosted by you. That's amazing. Yep. Well, hopefully
Stay tuned.
we need to get some more information before we kind of like officially like, hey, this is what it's going to be because we don't know quite
Yeah,
yet.
We're aiming for hopefully the weekend of starting on Friday, January 13th, or the 20th or the 27th.
Yeah.
One of those 3 weekends.
Depends on. So we're figuring out like how big, how much it's going to cost. We've never done this before, and a lot is the answer. It's
Because
depending.
we're
it's
doing
like,
in
yeah.
LA. LA is expensive,
LA.
so we're looking at like 10 grand probably for a space, which is
Yeah. So
steep.
it is. It is. But yeah. So we're figuring that out right now. But now let's keep an eye out. If you
Chicago.
want to come out to Bing Bong Con, we'd love you to be there. We're gonna go ahead and probably call. I was gonna try and find someone to raid, but I
No,
realized
we're
we're not on
not
Twitch.
on YouTube. We do stream on Twitch, everybody. If you don't know
We're
that,
streaming
come
tonight.
join us on Twitch. It is super duper fun.
Indeed.
I promise it's a great time. It's easy to get into and then use. And there's so many great board game personalities that are doing live streams all throughout the week, every week on Twitch. So please, if you ever thought maybe I should try Twitch, do it today. Because we're live tonight. Indeed. At 6 p.m.
But nonetheless, that's going to be
Do
it for
it.
us. Thank you so much for being here with this Rapid Reviews.
Do
We
it.
appreciate it. Thanks for everyone who's in the chat. Thank you everyone who's watching it later. Make sure to thumb up this video, please.
Yeah, we love
make
it.
sure to
Thank you.
subscribe if you
Please.
haven't already. And
Leave a
just
comment down below
awesome.
once this video switches over to
What was your favorite
game
game
you played this month.
put in the comments below. Love you all so much. Thank you, and we'll see you later. Bye.